Chapter 1168. After a round of haggling, Lin Yan finally settled the deal at 11 yuan. She had successfully completed the photo shoot. After the photo was taken, Pei Yutong sent it to the three of them in the group chat to show off to Pei Nanxiu. Pei Yutong typed, second brother, come out and take a look. I told you that I didn't choose the wrong person. The two people I saw at the amusement park were indeed my big brother and big sister-in-law. It's a pity that you weren't around. Come and take a look at our family photo. I finally have a photo with big brother. After about half a minute, Pei Nanxiu replied. Pei Nanxiu typed, family photo? Isn't this a photo of big brother and big sister-in-law? Did you send the wrong photo? Pei Yutong typed. Open your eyes and take a good look. It's a family photo. Pei Nanxiu typed. Sorry, I think I saw it clearly. There are only two people in the photo unless you're invisible. Pei Yutong circled the bear in the middle of the photo and sent it to the group chat. Pei Yutong typed. Can't you see that I'm so big? Second brother, do you have bad eyesight? Pei Nanxiu stared at the bear in the background of the photo and was speechless. Pei Yutong was still bragging when Lin Yan asked casually. Oh yeah, you mentioned that you were competing next week. How are your results? Pei Yutong felt a little guilty. I'm in the 50th place. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Why don't you just say that I'm last? The little prince at the bottom was indeed worthy of his reputation. She shouldn't have asked this question. She had chosen racing because she wanted to earn money, while Pei Yutong wanted to burn money. Pei Yutong's relationship with racing was just like the saying, you and I aren't meant to be. It's all because of my money. Third young master, I think you need to re-evaluate yourself. Have you considered changing your career? Lin Yan couldn't help but feel sorry for him. Pei Yutong shook his head immediately. No way. My biggest wish in life is to enter the first level of the international competition. I want my brother to watch me ride the waves on TV. Lin Yan was exasperated. Young man, the sky isn't dark yet. Wake up. Besides, I don't think your brother wants to watch it. Pei Yutong burst into tears. My brother only wants to see you. It's good that you know. Instead of wasting your money, why don't you use it to sponsor me? I can help you fulfill your wish. Anyway, we're family. If I make it to the first level of the international competition, wouldn't that mean that you've made it to the first level as well? Lin Yan persuaded him patiently. Pei Yutong scratched his head. I think what you said makes sense. However, something seems wrong. Lin Yan asked. What's wrong? Aren't we family? Pei Yutong replied. We are family. However, even though your racing skills are better than mine, this is the first level of the international competition. You can't enter just because you want to. Sister-in-law, you're just trying to trick me. Lin Yan patted her chest. Not only will I enter, but I will also win the championship. If you sponsor our team now, it will definitely be a profitable business. Pei Yutong replied. Sister-in-law, your boyfriend has a net worth of hundreds of billions. How could he cheat me of my money? Isn't that inappropriate? Lin Yan quipped. Your brother has a net worth of hundreds of billions as well. Why can't you part with this bit of money? Pei Yutong quipped. Your boyfriend has a net worth of hundreds of billions. Why don't you ask him to sponsor you? As the two of them were arguing, Pei Yutong interrupted them. Because she doesn't need it. My money is your sister-in-law's money. Pei Yutong was speechless. Ahem. Lin Yan turned to glance at her boyfriend and said solemnly. Pei Yutong, I have to clarify something. Although I love money, I'm not with you because I'm greedy for your money. Pei Yutong replied. I know. Don't be greedy. I'm helping you earn it. Lin Yan was speechless. At that moment, Lin Yan's mind was filled with two words. I want to marry him. Who could stand this? Pei Yutong burped. End of the chapter. Chapter 1169. At the headquarters of the Pei family, several senior executives had convened an emergency meeting. There were two main points of discussion. It was about two lawless young masters. One was the big devil, while the other was the little devil. The big devil had been kidnapped by an evolved human organization a few years ago. Although the Pei family had launched a series of counterattacks and successfully rescued the big devil refused to return to the Pei family's headquarters. He had even fallen out with Pei Yuqing and his son, and injured Pei Yuqing with his unimaginable evolutionary power. Now, the big devil was a taboo that couldn't be mentioned in the Pei family's headquarters. The little devil is back today. An old man in the conference room spoke solemnly. He should be back today indeed. Yuqing has just contacted him and told him to stay in the family and not run around. The senior executives of the Pei family had a headache at the mention of the little devil. The little devil hated his brother to the core. He hated him for hurting his father, Pei Yuqing, and he hated him for betraying the Pei family. Over the years, the Pei family had investigated and made a preliminary judgment of the big devil's whereabouts. However, they hadn't dared mention it to the little devil. Immortal and indestructible. Are you sure it's the big devil's organization? After a long time, a certain old man frowned deeply, and a trace of worry appeared in his eyes. Most likely, the Immortal and Indestructible was an evolved human organization that had been very famous in the past 2 years. Although there weren't many members, every member had an almost heaven-defying evolved human power, especially the leader of the Immortal and Indestructible. He was even more mysterious. The Pei family and the Immortal and Indestructible had some feuds. Half a year ago, the Immortal and Indestructible had destroyed the Pei family's branches in various countries, causing the Pei family to suffer heavy losses. If the recent investigations are correct, the leader of the Immortal and Indestructible should be the big devil. Immortal and Indestructible. The old man from the Pei family was deep in thought. They hadn't forgotten the big devil's abilities. The real Immortal and Indestructible could be reborn in the shortest time, even if his head was chopped off. It was even more exaggerated than a phoenix's nirvana. Back then, Pei Yuqing had been very afraid of the big devil's evolutionary power, so he had been very strict with him. However, this was a different feeling for the big devil. In the eyes of the devil, Pei Yuqing would always favor little devil. He had never felt any fatherly love. Back then, a certain evolved human organization had tried to rob the big and little devils. Pei Yuqing had saved the little devil immediately and ignored the big devil, which had led to the big devil being kidnapped. After that, the great devil's abilities were completely awakened, and he had become a truly lawless great devil. Outside the gates of the Pei family, the boy was wearing a black coat and a pair of sneakers. He had a harmless smile on his face, but there was a hint of maturity in his eyes that did not match his age. Pei Qian, little devil. Seeing the boy come to the Pei clan alone, the expressions of several Pei clan clansmen changed slightly. Hadn't Pei Yuqing sent this little devil to Nightless City to further his studies 2 months ago? Why did he come back? Hello, Uncle Pei Yuan, Uncle Pei Hua. After the little boy entered the Pei group, he saw the 2 middle-aged men in front of him and greeted them with a smile. Hearing this, the 2 of them quickly turned around and pretended not to hear anything. This little devil looked harmless and cute, but he was considered half a taboo in the Pei family. Evolved beings were ridiculously powerful, and they were more cunning than anyone else. Although he was still a child, his wisdom had already far surpassed that of some adults. End of this chapter. Chapter 1170. As for Pei Qian, the people of the Pei family didn't want to have too much to do with him. Be it Pei Qian or his brother, the Great Devil, they were all afraid of him. This was especially true for the Great Devil. After his ability was completely awakened, the ferocity and cruelty that he displayed was something that ordinary people could never compare to. Pei Yuqing had been severely injured by his eldest son. Although his youngest son Pei Qian's evolved strength was slightly weaker than his eldest son's, who could be sure that Pei Qian, who shared the same mother as his eldest son, would one day grow into a demon? In the Pei family, most people would avoid Pei Qian if they could. Haha, Pei Qian, weren't you studying in Nightless City? Why are you back? One of the middle-aged men had no choice but to turn around and smile at Pei Qian. Pei Qian looked at the middle-aged man beside him with his big eyes and a childish smile on his face. Uncle Pei Hua, do you have any news of my brother? Pei Hua was a member of the Pei family's intelligence network. Pei Hua and the others were in charge of investigating the devil's whereabouts. Hearing Pei Qian's words, Pei Hua shook his head repeatedly and said, No, my little ancestor, if I had news of the great demon, if I had news of your brother, how could I not tell you? I understand the deep bond between you and your brother. As Pei Hua finished speaking, the smile on Pei Qian's face deepened. He said in a childish voice, Uncle Pei Hua, your investigative skills are so strong. You must have news of my brother. My brother hates the Pei clan so much, and he hates father so much. Tell me, and I'll go kill him. How good would that be? Pei Yuan, who was at the side, looked at the harmless-looking Pei Qian. How old was Pei Qian? Yet he could already say such words. That was his own brother. But he could say that he wanted to kill his own brother with a smile on his face. His expression was so calm that it made people's hearts go cold. This was why the Pei family feared the two brothers from the bottom of their hearts. He seemed to have no emotions, but at such a young age, he was more scheming and shrewd than any adult. The devil had injured his father, Pei Yuqing, and the little devil wanted to kill his own brother. No one would believe that these two brothers were not biological brothers. Uncle Pei Hua, why are you looking at me like that? I am a member of the Pei clan, so naturally, I have to do my part for the Pei clan. Aren't you all afraid of my brother? If I get rid of him, you will have nothing to worry about. Pei Qian smiled. Pei Hua frowned slightly, and looked at Pei Qian in surprise. You already know? Pei Qian smiled and nodded. That's right, immortal and indestructible. Pei Hua immediately sighed. As expected, nothing could be hidden from Pei Qian. The Undying Indestructible Evolver organization had recently launched an extremely strong attack on the Pei clan's branches in the various countries, causing the Pei clan to suffer heavy losses and even damaging their vitality. He had asked Pei Yuqing to come back to deal with this matter. The headquarters had already made up their minds to put out a bounty on all the members of the Undying Indestructible Guild, dead or alive. Pei Qian, don't mention this again. No matter what, he is your brother. Even if he does anything, it's the elder's business. It has nothing to do with you. Pei Yuan glared at Pei Qian and warned him sternly. Pei Yuan and Pei Yuqing had a good relationship. Even though he was a little afraid of Pei Yuqing's two sons, he couldn't let them fight each other. Besides, if he told Pei Qian the whereabouts of the devil, he would be courting death if he really went to look for him. Chapter 1171. Alright, I'm just teasing you guys. How would I dare to look for my immortal brother? He even dared to hurt my father. If I go, I'll be like a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth. Pei Qian laughed. Pei Qian, it's good that you know. During this period of time, stay in the clan and don't leave without permission. This is your father's wish. We'll talk about it when your father returns, Pei Yuan said. Oh, I understand. Pei Qian nodded and walked past the two of them, heading towards the clan. Country F, the largest branch established by the Pei clan in this country. In the middle of the night, this branch had already ignited with raging flames. It was like a divine punishment descending from the sky, and nothing could extinguish it. Outside the branch, the young boy looked at the burning branch of the Pei clan without any human emotions in his eyes. Aha, Boss Pei Li, my performance is over. In an instant, a ball of flames fell from the sky and smashed heavily onto the ground beside Pei Li. Pei Li stared at the giant flaming man in front of him and nodded slightly. In the next second, the purple flames on the flaming man faded and turned into a handsome youth. You've worked hard, the boy said softly as he looked at the youth in front of him. Worked hard? The youth laughed out loud. Pei Li, it's a little sudden for you to say that. Besides, if you hadn't destroyed the laboratory and rescued us back then, we would still be being researched in the laboratory and used to create the so-called perfect body's mother. At the mention of the laboratory, Pei Li's eyes flashed for an instant before turning into a hint of hostility. However, he quickly returned to normal. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked out and stood in front of the Pei clan's branch. With a light wave of his hand, a terrifying force covered the sky. Half of the Pei clan's branch was immediately destroyed. Master. The middle-aged man returned to Pei Li's side and said respectfully with his head lowered. Mission completed. Yes, Pei Li said. Pei Li, how spectacular. Immediately, A young girl in a pure white dress jumped down from the top of a nearby bell tower. Her entire body seemed to be weightless as she floated in front of Paley, an eyesore. Paley frowned as he looked at the young girl floating beside him like a ghost. No, I'm so good-looking and cute. I should be pleasing to the eyes. Idiot. You should be just like your name. Hurry up and apologize to me. The girl stared at Paley, seemingly dissatisfied with his words. Master, the Pei family's branch is your father's. Isn't this a little? Without giving the girl a chance to speak, the middle-aged man on the side asked softly. As the middle-aged man's voice fell, he said apologetically, I only have a mother, no father. Hearing this, the middle-aged man did not continue to speak. They were also aware of this matter. Back then, Paley and his younger brother were both captured by the evolvers in the laboratory. Paley's father immediately went to his younger brother's side, causing Paley to be captured and experience a rather dark time in the laboratory. These people were also the strongest mothers in the laboratory back then. Their genes were used to create perfect experimental bodies. In the end, Paley's ability was completely awakened. In a few breaths of time, he destroyed the laboratory and rescued all the strongest brood mothers. After that, they became members of the unkillable Indestructible. And the leader of the undying Indestructible army was Paley. Paley's hatred for his father had reached its peak. Of course, Rome wasn't built in a day. Perhaps this was just a fuse. Mother? The girl's eyes widened, full of curiosity. I've never heard you mention your mother. End of this chapter. Chapter 1172. The girl was very curious about Paley's mother. She had known Paley for a long time, but she had never heard him mention his mother. At this moment, Paley was looking at the young girl with a complicated look in his eyes. Only now did Paley realize that his memories of his mother were extremely blurry. In fact, Paley had gradually forgotten his mother's appearance. In Paley's mind, the scene of him hiding in his mother's embrace would occasionally appear. At that time, her mother would buy her a lot of extremely childish toys and children's fairy tales for her. Paley also remembered that he would often sit in the front passenger seat. Although his mother was good at driving, she would always be extra careful and slow down whenever he was in the car. Soon, all his memories of his mother were shattered. Paley still couldn't get over that tragic car accident. Pei Yuqing was the one who had killed his mother. He had killed the woman who had treated him as a treasure. My mother has passed away, Paley said expressionlessly after a long time. However, this young child in front of him was surprisingly mature. Ah, you don't recognize your father, and your mother is gone. Don't you have no family? The girl asked. Hearing this, Paley smiled. Every single one of you is my family. How could I not have any family? He didn't know if this was a way to win people's hearts, but it sounded extremely sincere when this young boy said it. Before the girl could continue, a series of angry shouts came from the Pei family's branch. A second later, dozens of evolved beings from the Pei family flew into the air. Some of the evolved beings with their bodies rushed out of the Pei family's branch, which had almost been completely destroyed. Who dares to attack a branch of the Pei clan? A black-robed middle-aged man yelled in a stern voice in the air above. The Pei family's reputation was resounding. The branch had been in Country F for many years, and had always been the leader of the evolved beings. No evolved being had ever dared to challenge their authority. However, the Pei family had been ambushed tonight. Guts. Paley stood with his hands behind his back, as he stared at the middle-aged man. How dare you pluck the stars with one hand and trample on the underworld with one foot? The Pei family's branch isn't worth mentioning, Paley replied calmly. Who are you people? The middle-aged man, who was the leader of the branch, shouted. Undying and indestructible. Indestructible. Immediately, the middle-aged man's expression changed. The Undying Indestructible Organization was an organization of evolvers that had gained a lot of fame in recent times. It seemed to have a huge conflict with the Pei clan. A few branches of the Pei clan had been completely destroyed by the Undying Indestructible Organization. You look familiar. When he saw Paley's face, the middle-aged man leading the Pei clan's branch frowned and said, He seemed to have seen this child somewhere before. You. A moment later, the man's eyes were filled with shock. Devil. You're Pei Yuqing's son. There was no expression on Pei Li's face. He didn't even look disgusted at the mention of Pei Yuqing. He merely replied calmly, "Whatever you think." Pei Li, I'm your father's subordinate. This is a branch established by your father. What do you want? The man said. Destroyed. Destroying one of F Nation's most powerful evolvers was as normal as talking about dinner in Pei Li's mouth. End of chapter. Chapter 1173. The man couldn't help but laugh as he stared at the child. I really didn't expect Master Yu's son to be so capable. The Undying Organization is actually your evolved organization. However, Pei Li, you're just a child. You can't be my match. Besides, the headquarters has issued a wanted order for you. I advise you to go back to the headquarters to be punished. You might have a chance to live. Pei Li nodded and said, Then I have to thank you for your concern and reminder. Pei Li, it's no wonder that Master Yu regarded you as a taboo, and was so afraid of you. It seems like Master Yu's worries weren't unfounded. On account that you're Master Yu's son, I'll spare your life. Leave now. I don't think your loyalty is necessary. The flaming young man chuckled. Are you guys too ill-informed? Why do you want to spare our lives? You're really arrogant. Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. I think Master Yu. Before the man could finish, Pei Li interrupted him. You don't have to do it in front of Pei Yuqing. Just do it. Master Yu, the headquarters has issued a wanted order. It doesn't matter if he's dead or alive. Capture him and hand him over to the headquarters. It will be a great merit. However, if the headquarters finds out that we let him go, I'm afraid. An evolved being frowned. The man pondered this for a moment before he glanced at Pei Li. Pei Li, Master Yu has suffered enough at the headquarters because of you. He's your father, yet you're so rebellious. Forget it. I'll clean up the mess for Master Yu today. All right. Pei Li replied expressionlessly. You don't have to do anything. Pei Li glanced at the eager people behind him. Master, these small fries aren't worthy of your attention, the middle-aged man beside Pei Li said. It's okay, Pei Li replied. The others didn't insist after hearing Pei Li's words. Do it. The man gave the order, and the dozens of evolved beings with brains who were floating in the air moved at the same time. The evolved power that emerged from the bodies of the evolved beings turned into an ocean and gathered in one place. In an instant, dark clouds filled the sky, and lightning snakes surged in the clouds. In the dark night, the terrifying aura of evolved beings gathered, as though they had condensed into an ancient beast. Its huge body covered the sky and covered the moon. Execute. More than 10 evolved brains spoke at the same time. In the next second, they controlled the mountain-like beasts to suppress Pei Li. What a spectacular sight. The Pei clan's branch here is even stronger than the previous one, the girl murmured. After all, he is the #1 evolver in F country. The young man who had turned into a burning man said. At this moment, Pei Li stood on the spot and didn't move at all when facing such a terrifying pressure. He seemed as if he'd wantonly resisted it, yet he seemed as if he didn't care at all. Just as the beast completely suppressed Pei Li's eyes opened slightly. The next second, it was as if a miracle had descended. A huge eye blocked the moon, devouring all the light. It was as if the human world had turned into a dark purgatory. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, Pei Li's left eye completely enveloped the beast before absorbing it into his left eye. Impossible. Seeing this, the dozen or so evolved brains floating in the air were filled with shock. The divine might of a dozen highly intelligent evolvers was actually subdued by this child. The divine might of the evolved brain is useless against me. Perhaps you can try other methods. Pei Li said. End of chapter. Chapter 1174. Are you saying that you're immune to the evolved brain? The leader of the group asked in surprise. He had never heard of or seen such a strange thing. You can interpret it that way, Pei Li replied. Since you're immune to the evolved brain, then. The leader turned to look at the dozens of evolved humans. In an instant, Pei was completely surrounded. Dozens of evolvers with extremely high levels attacked Pei at the same time. Every move was fatal. Whoever took down Pei would be able to rise to the top in the Pei family's headquarters. No one would hold back, even if he was just a child. However, Pei's body was like a quagmire. No matter how powerful they were, it was like a drop of water falling into a desert. It had no effect on Pei. The specially made swords and knives only caused sparks to fly when they struck Pei's body. That's impossible. The leader of the group was dumbfounded. Immune to the power of the brain, immune to the evolved body. It was impossible for such a person to exist. You can't even break my basic defense. How can you even talk about fighting me? Are you kidding me? Pei stood in the crowd as he watched the dozens of people attack him. Get lost. Immediately after, Pei shouted, and a divine force that seemed to have come from ancient times exploded. With Pei in the center, the ground beneath his feet crumbled. Cracks spread out in all directions like thousands of pythons. A wave of air that could be seen with the naked eye immediately exploded, sending the dozens of evolvers of the Pei clan's branch flying everywhere. Some of the evolved humans were affected by the shockwave. As soon as they landed on the ground, they fainted on the spot. The leader of the group was drenched in cold sweat. The devil of the Pei family's headquarters was a monster through and through. It was no wonder that even the headquarters was afraid of him. However, they hadn't chased him out of the Pei family. Instead, they had chosen to keep him. Now, the leader finally understood that this devil might have been the Pei family's most terrifying trump card. He had been a humanoid weapon used to destroy their enemies. No one would have thought that this humanoid weapon had finally broken free. The leader of the group was horrified. Master, you is muddle-headed. This monster should have been destroyed when he was born. Pei stood where he was, not moving a single step from the very beginning. He looked at the man. I'll spare you today. Ah, is that all? The girl looked at Pei strangely. This wasn't Pei's character. He actually spared these people. Go back and tell Pei Yuqing that I will look for him. When we meet, he will pay the price he deserves. At the same time, tell my stupid brother not to think about taking revenge on me. I don't care about his life. Pei walked over to the man and grabbed his chin. Look at me. The man raised his head with difficulty and looked at Pei. Pei's eyes were as dazzling as the galaxy. Remember what I said? Pei asked. Yes, I remember. The man's forehead was covered in cold sweat. The child's gaze was like a mountain pressing down on him, making it difficult for him to even breathe. Very well. I believe that you are a loyal dog. You will definitely pass on my words, right? The corners of Pei's mouth curled up slightly, and there was a thought-provoking smile on his face. The man was about to say something when he realized that Pei and the others had disappeared. It was as though they had never been there. Everything seemed like a dream. Chapter 1175. The next morning, Lin Yan had an interview that day, so she woke up early. After washing up, she was about to do her skincare routine when she saw Pei Yuqing walking out of his room. Pei Yuqing halted when he saw that Lin Yan's door was open. Good morning. The two kittens circled Pei Yuqing enthusiastically, probably because they hadn't seen each other in a long time. You're awake. Didn't you have a day off today? Why are you up so early? Did I wake you up? Asked Lin Yan. No, I slept well. Lin Yan frowned. But you don't look too well. You must have stayed up late again. Did you go for a checkup this month? What did the doctor say? Although she had asked Cheng Mo to update her on his work schedule, while Pei Yuqing was at the headquarters, he was far away, and the situation at the headquarters was complicated. She was afraid that Pei Yuqing wouldn't be able to rest well. She couldn't be at ease with his condition. I've checked. He's fine, replied Pei Yuqing. Lin Yan studied Pei Yuqing's face intently for some time before she waved at him. Lower your head. Pei Yuqing was taken aback. Then he bent over obediently. Lin Yan took out a red and black bottle from the drawer and pressed it against her palm. Then, she gently applied it on Pei Yuqing's face. This is Nature Hall's Dragon Blood Energy Lotion. I bought one for you. It's for men. Pei Yuqing hadn't expected that she would ask him to lower his head, just to apply the lotion on his face. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This is a combination of toner, lotion, and essence. You only need this bottle to fix everything. It's very convenient. Lin Yan studied the dark circles under Pei Yuqing's eyes and asked worriedly, "Did something happen at home?" Pei Yuqing seemed exhausted every time he came back from the headquarters. Although he didn't seem to be acting strangely, Lin Yan had a feeling that something was bothering him. Pei Yuqing seemed to be in a daze when he heard her. "Something did happen, but it has been resolved. Don't worry." "Oh, that's good." Lin Yan didn't press on since Pei Yuqing didn't want to elaborate. "Do you have work today?" Pei Yuqing glanced at the bottles beside Lin Yan. "Yeah, there's an interview today, but it will be over soon." She would only put on makeup and a full set of skincare products when she had to attend an event. Usually, she would just put on some lotion before heading out. Lin Yan's head throbbed as she read the interview outline. "It's just that the interview questions are a little complicated," Pei Yuqing asked. "What happened?" Lin Yan muttered, "Look at these questions. When do you want to get married? How many children do you want? Do you like boys or girls? Would any fans be interested in such boring questions?" Pei Yuqing's eyes glinted with a smile. "Yes, I'm very interested. Miss Lin, when do you want to get married?" "Ahem." Lin Yan coughed dryly. "I think we should just let nature take its course. Then, how many children do you want?" Pei Yuqing pressed on. Lin Yan pondered it for a moment. "One should be enough, right? It's too noisy if there are too many." Pei Yuqing asked, "What if it's too much? Can I have one more?" "Huh." Lin Yan thought that Pei Yuqing's question was strange, but she didn't dwell on it. She hesitated and replied, "One more is fine." Pei Yuqing studied the girl and asked, "Do you like boys or girls?" Lin Yan answered without hesitation, "I prefer girls. If it's possible, I would like to give birth to an adorable princess." Pei Yuqing's expression seemed conflicted. After some time he said helplessly, "In that case, I'm afraid we have to work harder." Lin Yan blinked. "Huh. Mr. Pei, what did you say?" Pei Yuqing chuckled softly. "Nothing. I'm saying that if you like girls, we can work hard in the future." Lin Yan was speechless. P.S. Nature Hall Men's Dragon Blood Energy Lotion, Himalayan Dragon Blood Energy Awakening Essence, Dragon Blood Energy Awakening Technology, promotes ADP synthesis, melts water, and repels fatigue. It's suitable for those who stay up late and work overtime. Fairies who have a boyfriend can buy it. Asterisk caret caret asterisk. End of this chapter. Chapter 1176. Suddenly, Lin Yan's phone rang, shattering the romantic atmosphere. The moment she answered, she heard Duoduo's bellow. "Sister Yan, look at the headlines. Your relationship has been exposed." "What did you say?" Lin Yan was shocked out of her wits. Her relationship with Pei Yuqing had been exposed. She hadn't expected that her worst fears would come true. However, this shouldn't have happened. She had been very careful. She had even discovered Pei Yutong. Someone must have taken a photo of them. "What's wrong?" Pei Yuqing asked worriedly when he noticed the change in Lin Yan's expression. Lin Yan covered her phone and replied anxiously, "I think someone took a photo of us yesterday. My assistant said that our relationship has been exposed." Oh no, I'm dead meat." Lin Yan trembled as she clicked on Weibo. Lin Yan didn't dare open her eyes. She carefully peeked through a slit. Then, she saw a few photos of her and Pei Yuqing at the amusement park. And the first trending topic was impressively Lin Yan and Pei Nanxiu at the amusement park. Their relationship has been exposed. Huh? Pei Nanxiu? Wasn't it Pei Yuqing? Lin Yan stared at the name and was dumbfounded. Why is it Pei Nanxiu? Pei Yuqing, who had also seen the trending topic, was speechless. Qian Duoduo was still bellowing angrily. "Do you think you can keep it a secret at a time like this?" Lin Yan rubbed her forehead. Duoduo, why is it Pei Nanxiu? How did they know it was him? Initially, she had thought that her relationship with Pei Yuqing had been exposed. She hadn't expected that it would be Pei Nanxiu. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although only your backs and silhouettes are visible in the photos, your clothes are very clear. Pei Nanxiu is wearing a haute couture outfit that Zailing released this year. It's one of a kind, and there's only one of them. Pei Nanxiu wore it once when he received an award. His fans recognized him right away. Duo replied. Lin Yan finally noticed Pei Yuqing's clothes. What was going on? However, Pei Yuqing and Pei Nanxiu were biological brothers. Pei Nanxiu would stay in Cloud Manor to take care of Pei Yuqing, so it was possible that their clothes would mix. So the fans had mistaken Pei Yuqing for Pei Nanxiu? Duo replied. Sister Yan, didn't I remind you? You have to be careful. How dare you go to an amusement park with Mr. Pei? Do you really not want to live anymore? Lin Yan was speechless. Lust had blinded her. Duo, don't worry. I'm heading to the office right now. I'll explain everything to you when we meet. Lin Yan replied helplessly. After hanging up, Lin Yan glanced at Pei Yuqing cautiously. It hadn't been easy for her to avoid any scandals, but this time, it had blown up. Furthermore, it had been Pei Nanxiu. She felt like killing herself. The fans seemed to have mistaken you for Mr. Pei. Did Mr. Pei wear the same clothes that you wore that day? Asked Lin Yan. Nanxiu's gown was dirted at the event, so he took a new one from me. It should be this one, explained Pei Yuqing. Lin Yan sighed. No wonder. This is too much of a coincidence. End of this chapter. Chapter 1177. However, Lin Yan heaved a sigh of relief. Although the fans had misunderstood Pei Nanxiu, at least Pei Yuqing hadn't been exposed. That was a blessing in disguise. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked you to accompany me to that place, said Pei Yuqing. Lin Yan's heart softened when she heard him. I should be the one apologizing. You were just trying to accommodate me. Why did you have to be so nervous when we went to the amusement park? Fortunately, the photo wasn't taken. I'll go to the company now and discuss it with Sister Ling. Is there anything you need me to do? Asked Pei Yuqing. Lin Yan glanced at Pei Yuqing. There is. Just don't be angry. Do you want to hear the truth? Pei Yuqing chuckled softly. Lin Yan nodded. Of course. To be honest, I was really angry when I saw your name next to another man's. Pei Yuqing's eyes darkened as he spoke slowly. Lin Yan coughed and hurriedly explained. This was an accident. I'll make it clear that the man in the photo isn't Mr. Pei. If Pei Yuqing were to step forward in a fit of anger, or if he were to possess her body and declare his ownership, she wouldn't dare to imagine the scene. His fans would scatter his ashes and scatter his ashes. Pei Yuqing studied the girl's nervous expression and said, I will try my best to control myself. The moment he finished speaking, a sound that had not been heard for a long time rang out. DDD. Lin Yan stared at the silver watch on Pei Yuqing's wrist in horror. Her hair stood on end. The two kittens, who had been glued to Pei Yuqing, shuddered and hid themselves. Lin Yan was speechless. Didn't he say that he would control himself? Pei Yuqing studied the silver watch on his wrist and raised an eyebrow. Sorry, I overestimated my self-control. Lin Yan felt like crying. The alarm in the room was getting louder and louder. Pei Yuqing's voice was so calm that Lin Yan's hair stood on end. She knew very well that there was a terrifying storm hidden beneath his gentle and refined exterior. Lin Yan had heard from Xing Chun and the others about the function of the watch. The louder the alarm, the more dangerous Pei Yuqing's condition was, and the more his body could take it. Beep 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 beep. Lin Yan didn't have time to think as she listened to the alarm and heard his oppressive aura. Instinctively, she lunged at him and buried her head in his arms. Hubby! Pei Yuqing was speechless. The increasingly urgent beeping sound disappeared almost instantly. The room fell into a dead silence. Lin Yan didn't even pause to catch her breath. You can't believe a single word of gossip. Even if your name appears together, so what? You're my boyfriend. You're not someone else. Pei Yuqing narrowed his eyes, and the haze in his eyes disappeared. His voice was hoarse as he said, What? What did you just say? Lin Yan snapped. You're my boyfriend. You're not anyone else. Pei Yuqing replied, That's not it. Lin Yan quipped, Are all the gossip and entertainment news nonsense? Pei Yuqing replied, The previous sentence. Lin Yan muttered, Hubby? Pei Yuqing replied, I won't be angry if you say it again. Lin Yan blinked, as though she couldn't believe that Pei Yuqing would calm down so easily. Hubby. If there was anything that couldn't be solved by calling him hubby, just say it twice. End of this chapter. Chapter 1178. After comforting Pei Yuqing, Lin Yin headed to Summit Entertainment. When she arrived, she saw a group of people crowding around the entrance. They were all Pei Nanqi's fans. They were holding banners and cursing angrily. There was a pile of rotten vegetables and rotten eggs at the entrance. It was an unbearable sight. How dare she rub shoulders with our Mr. Pei? What a romantic relationship. She isn't even fit to carry his shoes. I have changed my opinion of her, because of her charity work. Who would have thought that she would expose her true colors so soon? Indeed, a dog can't change its spots. Would it kill her to not stir up scandals? I don't care if she stirs up scandals or not. How dare she stir up scandals with my brother? Does she think we are pushovers? Lin Yin, get out of the entertainment industry. Get out of the entertainment industry. Lin Yin expended a lot of effort to find a side door and sneak into the office. Sorry, Sister Ling. I've caused you trouble. Zhao Hongling stared at the computer screen on her desk as her phone kept ringing. Duo was busy answering calls as well. Zhao Hongling glanced at Lin Yin solemnly. Lin Yin, this has caused a huge commotion. There have been rumors about you and Pei Nanqiu, but there hasn't been any concrete evidence. Hence, there hasn't been much of a commotion. However, photos have been taken this time. Pei Nanqiu's fans are very agitated. Some of them are even pressuring the higher-ups of Summit Entertainment to terminate your contract. I need you to tell me the truth. Otherwise, I won't be able to help you. Are you and Pei Nanqiu in a relationship? Lin Yin scanned the comments. Zhao Hongling wasn't exaggerating at all. There was a storm of criticism. Pei Nanqiu's fans had attacked her personal Weibo account, her manager's Weibo account, her company's official Weibo account, and even the official Weibo accounts of the brands she had endorsed. The fighting power of Mr. Pei's fans was indeed well-deserved. No, absolutely not. Lin Yin sighed heavily and sounded certain. No, Zhao Hongling didn't seem to believe him. In the past she might have believed it. However, based on the photos, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the two of them were a couple. That was why Pei Nanqiu's fans were so furious. I'm in love, but I'm not with Mr. Pei. The clothes he's wearing. It's a misunderstanding. Anyway, he's not in the photo. I can believe you, but I'm afraid the fans won't buy it. It's not just his clothes. His side profile is very similar to Mr. Pei's, Zhao Hongling said. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Pei Nanqiu and Pei Yuqing were biological brothers. How could they not look alike? At this moment, someone knocked on the office door. Please come in. The door was pushed open, and Pei Nanqiu walked in. Zhao Hongling and Duo were shocked to see that Pei Nanqiu had come personally. Zhao Hongling stood up immediately. Mr. Pei. Duo hurriedly poured some water for him. Mr. Pei, why did you come here personally? Please take a seat. I'm sorry. The fans are a little agitated. I'm sorry to have caused you trouble, Pei Nanqiu said politely. Zhao Hongling was flattered. You're exaggerating. This incident was an accident. Besides, you're also a victim. End of chapter. Chapter 1179. Pei Nanqiu was about to speak when he noticed the wound on the back of Lin Yan's hand. His expression changed instantly. What happened to your hand? Is it my fan? Lin Yan glanced at the wound that was about to heal. It's not your fan. I think I accidentally scratched it when I came in from the side door. It's just a small wound. No matter what, it was caused by me. Pei Nanqiu's expression was cold as he turned to his assistant. Go buy some medicine. Lin Yan was dumbfounded. It's fine. It's almost healed. It's just a small wound. Pei Nanqiu looked pale. You have to be careful in case it gets infected. Besides, it's not good for a girl to have a scar. This scandal had already made him tremble in fear. If Big Brother were to find out that Lin Yan had gotten hurt because of it, he wouldn't dare to imagine what would happen. Zhao Hongling and Duo glanced at Pei Nanqiu, who was so concerned and anxious. They were speechless. This was really hard to believe. Weren't the two of them a couple? This time, Even Zhao Hongling couldn't lie to herself. How could they be so obvious? Did they think that they were blind? If they weren't a couple, why would Pei Nanxiu, who had always kept his distance from female celebrities, be so concerned about a female celebrity? The two of them hadn't noticed the small wound earlier. Yet Pei Nanxiu had noticed it the moment he had arrived. How could he be so anxious? This wasn't the first time Pei Nanxiu had acted so strangely. How could they be fine? Who would believe that? Study. Lin Yin could feel Duo and Zhao Hongling's burning gazes on her. She couldn't bring herself to say anything. It wasn't what they thought. Don't worry. I will make an announcement later to clarify that the person in the photo isn't me. Pei Nanxiu asked tentatively. Have you thought about how you're going to deal with the public relations? After all, the photo can't be faked. Lin Yin rubbed her temples. I know. That's why I can only announce that I'm in a relationship. I will say that the clothes are fake. Anyway, they didn't take a picture of my face. They can't be so good as to guess who my boyfriend is, right? Pei Nanxiu replied helplessly. Because of the shirt in the photo, Ahem. I look like your boyfriend. I'm afraid that even if we clarify, the fans won't believe us. However, this was all they could do for now. In the short term, the resistance from the fans will definitely be more intense. I will try my best to appease them. You must pay attention to your safety during this time. Alright, I got it. Thank you, Mr. Pei. Contact me anytime if you need anything. Cough, why are you looking at me? After Pei Nanxiu left, Duo and Zhao Hongling stared at Lin Yan with complicated expressions on their faces. Lin Yan was dumbfounded. Duo folded her arms and said, Even Sister Ling and I don't believe it, let alone the fans. You could say that the clothes were a high-grade imitation, but those who knew the industry would know that it was real. Also, the side profile was similar. How could there be so many coincidences? You're basically rubbing the IQ of your fans on the ground. Chapter 1180. Duo placed his hands on his hips and said angrily, Look at what you're saying. The one and only, 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 the one and only. Your boyfriend is Mr. Pei's biological brother. Lin Yin fell silent at Duo's words. He didn't expect Plenty to guess correctly. It's over. Plenty wouldn't be able to guess it, right? Duo stroked her chin and pondered seriously. Oh yeah, Mr. Pei does have a younger brother. He is the third young master of JM Corporation. However, he doesn't participate in the family business and rarely appears in public. Sister Yen, don't tell me that your boyfriend is the third young master. Ahem. Lin Yan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Baby, your imagination can run wild. I don't think so either. I heard that third young master has a girlfriend. She's an artist from Summit Entertainment. Duo muttered. What? Third young master has a girlfriend? An artist from Summit Entertainment? Lin Yan was shocked. This single dog who treated racing as his wife actually had a girlfriend? How could her father not know? Yeah, you actually don't know? She was Summit Entertainment's top star, Qiao Kershuan. She had auditioned with you for the role of Yeva in Legend and ended up playing Lang Mang's girlfriend. Everyone in Summit Entertainment knew that Qiao Kershuan's backer was third young master. I remember telling you before, right? No way. Qiao Kershuan was Pei Yutong's girlfriend? Then how did they meet? How long have you been dating? Lin Yan asked anxiously. I only know that Qiao Kershuan used to race. Rumor has it that they met while racing. Why are you asking so clearly? Is there really something going on between you and Pei Yutong? Duo stared at Lin Yan hesitantly. You're thinking too much. Lin Yan rolled her eyes at him. Even if there was something, it wasn't what she was thinking. Wei Chinese network, who would have thought that this damn child had hidden his strength so well? He was even better at hiding than her, like father, like son. You don't worry about others. Think about how you're going to get through this. You've been rising too quickly recently, and there are already people who don't like you. They'll definitely use this opportunity to suppress you. Plenty helplessly reminded. Zhao Hongling stared at the phone with a serious expression. Boss Chu asked me to go there for this matter. It's over. Even the boss is alarmed. However, it wasn't surprising. After all, This matter concerned Mr. Pei. The company is under a lot of pressure. Is boss really going to terminate Sister Yan's contract? Duodua looked worried. Don't worry, I'll talk to Chief Chu. Zhao Hongling also felt that the situation was not very optimistic, but she forced herself to calm down and prepare for the worst. After a while, in the office of Summit Entertainment's boss, Chu Jiayao. Little Zhao, you're here. Have a seat, Chu Jiayao said with a smile. Zhao Hongling didn't dare to sit down, so she apologized. I'm sorry, President Chu. It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of my artists. I know that the company is under a lot of pressure. The fans are pressuring the company to terminate Lin Yan's contract. I'm willing to bear all the consequences and resign from my position as her manager. I hope that President Chu will give Lin Yan another chance and not terminate her contract. Chu Jiayao choked and coughed. Hey, sit down. Don't be so nervous. Who said anything about punishing you? Chapter 1181. A few months ago, Chu Jiayao, Pei Nanxiu, and Lin Yan had been present at a dinner. Their boss Pei Yuqing had suddenly appeared. After the dinner, Chu Jiayao had intended to introduce the twin sisters from Summit Entertainment to Pei Yuqing. Who would have thought that he would discover a shocking secret? Lin Yan was Pei Yuqing's girlfriend. He had been unaware that he had introduced a woman to his boss in front of his future wife, Lin Yan. Pei Nanxiu had always claimed that he was Lin Yan's relative. He had assumed that Pei Nanxiu was just trying to fool him. He had never imagined that Pei Nanxiu would be referring to Lin Yan as his sister-in-law. Chu Jiayao broke out in cold sweat at the thought of this. Fortunately, his boss hadn't pursued the matter. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he had died. How would he have dared to offend his boss? Chu Jiayao tried to calm himself down as he spoke to Zhao Hongling amiably. Little Zhao, don't misunderstand. I didn't ask you to come here to punish you. After all, Lin Yan has suffered a great deal. I asked you to come here to take care of Lin Yan. Don't let her be affected. Don't worry about anything else. The company will handle it. Tell Lin Yan to focus on her work. Zhao Hongling had already prepared herself for the worst. She hadn't expected that Chu Jiayao wouldn't blame her. Instead, he would console her. She was stunned and didn't know how to react. I have already contacted the Public Relations Department. They will cooperate fully with you to suppress the rumors. Of course, Nanshi will cooperate as well. If you need anything, you can talk to his manager. Zhao Hongling snapped back to her senses after some time. She looked hesitant as she said, Thank you, President Chu. However, the company is facing a lot of criticism. If we don't do something about it, I'm afraid it won't be easy to explain to the fans. Zhao Hongling couldn't be blamed for overthinking things. Although Lin Yan was popular, the other party was Pei Nanxiu, the top celebrity in the entertainment industry. Under normal circumstances, the company would definitely choose to protect Pei Nanxiu. They wouldn't allow his image to be tarnished. If this matter blew up, Lin Yan was destined to be the sacrificial lamb. Hence, she decided to take the blame herself. Summit Entertainment naturally had the ability to suppress this matter. However, a businessman like Chu Jiayao wouldn't be willing to pay such a huge price for an artist who wasn't even an A-lister. Zhao Hongling knew this all too well, which was why she was so suspicious of Chu Jiayao's unusual attitude. Chu Jiayao chuckled. He knew that Zhao Hongling was worried that the company wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure and might sacrifice Lin Yan. In reality, his boss would rather sacrifice Summit Entertainment and his own brother than sacrifice a single strand of Lin Yan's hair. Xiao Zhao. Lin Yan is also an artist of Summit Entertainment. The company will naturally do its best to protect every artist. We won't terminate our contract because of this. Don't worry, Chu Jiayao said in an official tone. Judging by Zhao Hongling's attitude, it was obvious that she had no idea who Lin Yan's true backer was. If she had known, she wouldn't have come looking for him. Chapter 1182. Chu Jiayao's words sounded dignified, but as an experienced agent, Zhao Hongling wasn't convinced by his words. Thank you, President Chu. Thank you, but I have to apologize again. Although Lin Yin and Mr. Pei have nothing to do with each other, it is true that Lin Yin is in a relationship. To avoid unnecessary trouble, Zhao Hongling decided to tell Chu Jiao everything. After all, Summit Entertainment strictly forbade its artists from dating without permission. Chu Jiao made his stand clear. What's there to apologize for? Isn't it normal for artists to date? Lin Yin has done nothing wrong. Zhao Hongling was dumbfounded. But the company doesn't allow artists to date without permission. Chu Jiao raised an eyebrow. The company has such a rule? Who would be so heartless as to make such a rule? Zhao Hongling stammered. It's President Chu. Chu Jiao was taken aback. He scratched his nose awkwardly. Really? Why can't I remember? Times have changed. What era are we in now? Why are you still doing that? I will abolish this rule. Zhao Hongling was speechless. After her conversation with Chu Jiao, Zhao Hongling returned to her office with a conflicted expression. Duo scurried over to Zhao Hongling worriedly. Sister Ling, how is it? Did President Chu make things difficult for you? Is he really going to terminate the contract? Lin Yin glanced at Zhao Hongling worriedly. Chu Jiao might not touch her now that he knew about her relationship with Pei Yuqing. However, he might use Zhao Hongling as a shield. Sister Yen, what did President Chu say? Zhao Hongling glanced at Lin Yen and shook her head. It's fine. President Chu said that the company will resolve this. What? Duo was skeptical. Is the company that good? In the past, there have been female artists who have tried to create scandals with Mr. Pei. Didn't the company deal with them mercilessly? At the very least, they would fire their manager. No, President Chu has made it clear that he will protect his artists. He didn't punish me either. Don't worry. Zhao Hongling turned to Lin Yen. Lin Yen, the event is about to start. Go and get your makeup done. Don't be late. All right, I'll be right there. Sister Ling, you've worked hard this time. Zhao Hongling turned to Duo and called her over. Duo, come here. What's wrong, Sister Ling? Why do you look so serious? Zhao Hongling quipped. I think Lin Yen is dating Mr. Pei. Duo was shocked. Sister Ling, what did you say? Lin Yan's boyfriend is really... Zhao Hongling hurriedly reminded. Lower your voice. Oh, although I was almost certain, Sister Yen refused to admit it. I thought that there might have been a misunderstanding. Sister Ling, how did you figure it out? Duo asked excitedly. Zhao Hongling mulled it over. This matter has blown up. Yet President Chu didn't punish her. In fact, he even cancelled the company's rule that prohibits artists from dating in private. I can't think of any other possibility besides the fact that she and Pei Nanshu are dating. Duo covered her mouth. President Chu actually changed the company's rules? Other than Mr. Pei, who else could make President Chu do this? Duo, you have to be more careful when you're with Lin Yin in the future. Don't let the fans discover anything, Zhao Hongling reminded her. Duo nodded furiously. Got it. I will definitely cover for her. End of the chapter. Chapter 1183. In the dressing room, Lin Yin was surprised to see a familiar face. It was the makeup artist who had done her makeup during meeting one's match. Teacher Kevin? Lin Yin greeted him hastily. Kevin, who had been staring intently at his phone, raised his head. Hi Lin Yin. We meet again. Why are you doing my makeup? Lin Yin asked curiously. Your company hired him. Didn't you know? Kevin said. Lin Yin reckoned that Zhao Hongling wouldn't be able to hire a stylist like Kevin. Hence, she reckoned that it had to be Pei Nanshu or Chu Jiao. I am, my dear. I haven't seen you for so long, but your skin is still so good. I can't even see the pores. Kevin's occupational habit acted up. He stared at her face for a while and clicked his tongue. No wonder you dare to go out without makeup. If I could do this without makeup, I'd wear makeup every day. Lin Yin coughed softly and didn't retort. Actually, she was just lazy. Those photos are all over the internet. Is it true that you and Mr. Pei are together? Kevin couldn't help but ask. Lin Yin replied promptly. Of course it's fake. Sister Ling has already released a statement. Mr. Pei must have refuted the rumors. Pei Nanxu was very efficient. When she had been in Zhao Hongling's office, she had already seen the statement to refute the rumors. Initially, Lin Yan had wanted to say that Pei Yuqing's outfit was a fake. However, Pei Nanxu had explained that the outfit wasn't Pei Nanxu's. There had been a problem with Pei Nanxu's outfit, so he had borrowed it at the last minute. He had also clarified that the person in the photo wasn't Pei Nanxu. Even if the fans found out that Pei Yuqing was the owner of the clothes, they wouldn't be able to find anything wrong with it. Pei Nanxu was right. Kevin pursed his lips and said, "Only Mr. Pei's fans would believe that. I don't believe that you're just trying to gain popularity this time. The man in the photo has such a figure and aura. Apart from Mr. Pei, who else in the entire entertainment industry can match him? I didn't expect you to be with Pei Nanxu. I thought it would be Wei Shufeng." Lin Yan's face darkened. "What? Wei Shufeng? Why are you talking about Wei Shufeng? What kind of expression is that? Don't tell me you still can't tell?" Kevin had a playful look on his face. "Forget it. I'm an outsider and I can't say anything about this. You figure it out yourself." Lin Yan was about to speak when she caught sight of the trending topic on Weibo. Why did the #1 trending topic change? Initially, the trending topic had been her relationship with Pei Yuqing, but now, it had changed to Lin Yan without makeup. The most trending topic had been Kevin's post. Kevin glanced at his phone and replied to the netizens with a smile. "Thanks to you, I'm on fire too. What's going on?" Lin Yan asked in confusion. "Although I didn't manage to capture your face, I managed to capture a few clear shots of your face. You look great without any makeup. We're all girls, so besides gossiping, we're naturally more concerned about your face and how to maintain it. Therefore, many people are asking what skincare products and cosmetics you use. I've done makeup for you before, so many fans came to me to ask about it." "I see." Lin Yan had a rough idea of the situation. End of chapter. Chapter 1184. Didn't you recommend a brand to me? I told my fans about it, but my reply made it to the top of the list. Kevin shrugged. Lin Yan glanced at Kevin's Weibo post. When Lin Yan was filming Meeting One's match, I was the one who did her makeup. She used a local brand, Nature Hall. I even recommended it to her, and the effect was great. Lin Yan noticed that Kevin's Weibo account was flooded with people asking him for recommendations. Kevin grinned and waved his phone at her. "What a coincidence. I didn't expect to be here to help you with your makeup today. I've already recommended all the products you told me previously. Everyone wants to know if there are any good makeup products, so I thought I could ask you about them." Lin Yan, who had nothing to hide, replied, "Natural Hall's Bingji foundation is pretty good. It has a softening effect, and it's light, delicate, and smooth. Actually, I didn't go barefaced that day. I applied this foundation as well. After all, she was going out on a date with Pei Yuqing, so she had to put on some makeup. I couldn't tell at all. The effect is so natural. I will recommend it to my fans now." Kevin, who was startled, replied to his fans with a grin on his face. As he replied, he told Lin Yan, "I think your company is using this to divert attention. However, you are indeed good-looking, which is why you are so popular." After Kevin replied to his fans, he began to help Lin Yan with her makeup. Shortly after, someone knocked on the door. It was Pei Nanxu. "Hey, Mr. Pei. I won't disturb you anymore." Kevin shot Lin Yan a look before he left. Lin Yan gave up on trying to explain. "Mr. Pei, what's up?" Pei Nanxu placed an exquisite multi-layered lunchbox on Lin Yan's table carefully. "My brother cooked for you. He asked me to bring it over to remind you to eat on time." "Ah, your brother cooked for me?" Lin Yan stared at the lunchbox in Pei Nanxu's hands, as though she was staring at a ticking time bomb. Pei Yuqing hadn't cooked for a long time. Why was he suddenly back on the scene? Pei Nanxu, who seemed to have read Lin Yan's mind, chuckled. "Don't worry. My brother said that he has improved his recipe. You can try it." Lin Yan coughed. "Ahem. Oh, I see, improved formula? Haha, you're not at ease at all. You sound even more worried, okay? Pei Nanshi was helping Lin Yan open the lunchbox when Chu Jiao knocked on the door. Oh, Nanshi is here too. Chu Jiao grinned from ear to ear, gritting his teeth as he glanced at Nanshi. If this fellow had told him clearly from the start, he wouldn't have misunderstood for so long. Last time he even courted death. President Chu. Lin Yan stood up immediately. Chu Jiao jumped in fright and hurriedly helped Lin Yan sit down. Lady boss, please sit down. You don't have to get up. Lin Yan was speechless. Chu Jiao rubbed his hands and reported, Hee, I'm just here to show my concern. We're already dealing with the trending topic. It's not good to force it down, so we've used other content to divert people's attention. So far, it seems to be working well. If you have any other requests, feel free to ask. Nature Hall's Bingji Foundation has 2 types, moisturizing and refreshing. The moisturizing type is suitable for dry skin, while the refreshing type is suitable for oily skin. It also has a nourishing effect. You can use it with the Bingji Foundation Makeup Powder. The effect is excellent. ******. End of this chapter. Chapter 1185. Chu Jiao's attitude made Lin Yan feel helpless. No thank you. I'm the one who caused all this. I'm sorry to have caused trouble for the company. No. It's the company's fault that we didn't discover it in time. That's why we've caused trouble for you and boss. This is a mistake on my part. We will be more careful in the future. Chu Jiao explained eagerly before he cautiously said, I didn't get a chance to explain to you what happened last time. Lady boss, I really didn't know that you were together with boss. That was why I tried to introduce Zhong Xiaowei and Zhong Xuening to boss. Please don't take it to heart. And I swear, I've never done such a thing before. That was the only time. If Chu Jiao hadn't mentioned it, Lin Yan would have forgotten about it. She coughed softly and said, President Chu, you're being too serious. I didn't take it to heart. Also, please call me Lin Yan. That's good to hear. Chu Jiao's heart finally calmed down when he realized that Lin Yan was being nice. After all, Lin Yan had flown into a rage when he had tried to matchmake his boss. She didn't seem like a nice person at all. Suddenly, Chu Jiao caught a glimpse of the food on the table. Chu Jiao's eyes lit up when he saw the delicately carved dishes. Miss Lin, did you order this? Which restaurant did you order it from? Why haven't I seen these dishes before? Chu Jiao was a glutton who loved delicious food. He had been to all the famous restaurants in the capital city and knew all the famous dishes. Lin Yan was too embarrassed to admit that he had made it. Thus she said, the restaurant didn't buy it. It was made by a friend of mine. So it was made by your friend. No wonder I didn't know about it. The carving is so exquisite. Even the head chef of the capital city can't compare to it. Miss Lin, can I try it? Chu Jiao couldn't help himself when he saw the food. Lin Yan replied, of course. Try it. Actually, it would be good to let Chu Jiao try it first. Chu Jiao picked up his chopsticks excitedly and picked up a carrot that was carved in the shape of a flower. Lin Yan observed Chu Jiao's expression carefully. Chu Jiao closed his eyes and chewed carefully. About 3 seconds later, Chu Jiao clutched his throat. There's poison in the food. Nanshi was speechless. Lin Yan was speechless. Pei Nanshi didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he watched Chu Jiao search the room for water. He quickly poured him a glass of water. Chu Jiao gulped down a glass of water before he felt better. He panted heavily as he stared at Lin Yan. Which chef cooked this? Do you want to kill him? Lin Yan rubbed her nose. Really? I think it's all right. It seemed like Pei Yuqing's new formula had failed again. Fortunately, Chu Jiao had tried it first. Chu Jiao was stunned. Not too bad. Is this still okay? This smell almost sent me away. Is he trying to poison you to death? Which friend of yours has such horrible cooking skills? Lin Yan, you have to be careful. Is your friend also a fan of Pei Nanshi? Is he trying to take revenge on you? Nanshi was speechless. Lin Yan replied awkwardly. No, I won't. Chu Jiao replied. Why not? You can't be careless. I'll get the company to investigate your friend. Lin Yan had no choice but to reply. My boyfriend? Chu Jiao was speechless. After a long period of dead silence, Chu Jiayao wiped his mouth and said seriously, "So, it's Boss Pei's culinary skills. I was too shallow. It looks like my attainments are not deep enough. I can't understand Boss Pei's culinary skills." Chu Jiayao thought, "Yeah, I was too shallow." End of this chapter. Chapter 1186. Cloud Manor. In the study, Pei Yuqing placed a stack of documents aside. He had just removed his glasses when his phone vibrated. He glanced at his phone expressionlessly. A few seconds later, he furrowed his eyebrows. A hoarse voice came through the phone. "Master Yu, speak." Pei Yuqing replied coldly. He didn't want to hear that name. However, he was disappointed. "It's eldest young Master Pei Li." The hoarse voice sounded as though it had survived a calamity. Pei Yuqing fell silent for a few seconds when he heard Pei Li's name. The man rubbed his temples gently and said, "Tell me." "Master Yu, our branch was destroyed by Pei Li. Pei Li asked me to pass a message to you." "What message?" asked Pei Yuqing. "Master Yu, your eldest son said that he would be back. He asked you and young Master Pei Qian to wait." Pei Yuqing was speechless. After a long silence, Pei Yuqing replied coldly, "Got it. There's no need to report this to the Pei Corporation. I'll handle it." "Huh. Master Yu, why aren't you reporting such a huge matter to the Pei Corporation? If something goes wrong, Before she could finish, Pei Yuqing snapped impatiently. "I told you that I would handle it." "Alright, I understand." After hanging up, Pei Yuqing closed his eyes deep in thought. All this while, he did not feel that there was anything wrong with what he had done. He just wanted to protect Pei Li and his mother Lin Yan. However, today he had fallen out with his father and brother. When Pei Li had been born, he had been an evolved being with terrifying evolutionary genes. Not only that, but this evolutionary power wasn't controlled by Pei Li, so it was very easy for him to lose control. When Lin Yan had given birth to Pei Li, she had been affected by Pei Li's evolved power and had been unconscious in the hospital for 2 weeks. Back then, he had sent Pei Li and Pei Qian to the Pei Corporation, while Lin Yan was unconscious. He had lied to Lin Yan that the 2 children had some kind of defect and died young. Back then, Lin Yan had forgotten everything. She had been an ordinary person. If Pei Li had stayed by Lin Yan's side and lost control of his ability, Lin Yan would have died without a doubt. In addition, Pei Li's evolver abilities and genes were too powerful, and there was a group of laboratory forces eyeing him covetously. For Lin Yan's safety and the kids' safety, Pei Yuqing had no choice but to send Pei Li and Pei Qian to Pei Corporation. In the end, Pei Yuqing's decision had been correct. In the 2 to 3 years he had been in the Pei family, Pei Li's ability had been controlled multiple times. And because of that, the Pei family had suffered heavy losses. 2 superclass evolvers had died at the hands of the young Pei Li, and dozens of his peers had been injured. After that, Pei Li became a monster in everyone's eyes. Even his own brother, Pei Qian, treated Pei Li like a monster. Pei Qian's abilities were outstanding, and he had outstanding control. He was doted on by everyone in the Pei family. Pei Li, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. Although his abilities were much stronger than Pei Qian's, he was easily out of control. The 2 of them had been treated at completely different extremes in their childhood. Pei Yuqing especially had high expectations of Pei Li. He was also afraid of Pei Li's ability to lose control, so he was especially strict. Pei Li, who was regarded as a monster in the Pei family, had never enjoyed the so-called fatherly love. This was the source of all hatred, and the irreversible seed had long been planted. End of chapter. Chapter 1187. At the same time, Pei Yuqing had been in a terrible state at the time, so he hadn't had time to care about her. This had led to the current situation, and the main reason why Lin Yan had gotten into a tragic car accident while trying to escape from him. At the time, Lin Yan had still been abroad, and they had gotten married. When Pei Yuqing had sent Pei Li and Pei Qian away, Wang Jingyang had discovered it and told Lin Yan. Lin Yan had flown into a rage and argued with Pei Yuqing for a few days. Pei Yuqing had no choice but to bring Pei Qian and Pei Li to Lin Yan's side. He had made a pact with Lin Yan that they would meet once a year, and that they could not meet for more than a month. Lin Yan had no choice but to compromise under Pei Yuqing's forcefulness. Perhaps it had been then that Lin Yan had thought of leaving Pei Yuqing. When Pei Li and Pei Qian had first appeared before Lin Yan, Pei Yuqing had realized that Lin Yan had doted on Pei Li too much. There had also been a deep sense of guilt in her doting. Pei Qian had told Lin Yan that Pei Li was a monster, and that she shouldn't get close to him. Pei Li had been ostracized by everyone in the Pei Corporation, so he had felt inferior. He had looked at everyone with a tinge of fear. The first time they had met, Pei Yuqing had warned Lin Yan not to be alone with Pei Li. At the time, Lin Yan couldn't understand why Pei Yuqing would treat Pei Li that way. Even his brother, Pei Qian, wouldn't talk to him. Pei Qian's eyes were filled with disgust and mockery. Naturally, Lin Yan wouldn't hate Pei Qian. Instead, she blamed Pei Yuqing for all her hatred. Later, Lin Yan had to follow the team to a competition and had left for 2 weeks. During this time, Pei Qian and Pei Li had been targeted by the people in the laboratory. There were many of them, and they had many tricks up their sleeves. As a result, Pei Yuqing had to choose between Pei Li and Pei Qian as soon as possible. In the end, Pei Yuqing chose Pei Qian. Choosing Pei Qian didn't mean that he had abandoned Pei Li. However, Pei Yuqing believed that given Pei Li's capabilities, the people in the laboratory would only be asking for trouble. In the end, Pei Yuqing hadn't expected that Pei Li wouldn't retaliate at all. After Pei Li had been captured, Pei Yuqing had gone to the headquarters of the laboratory to rescue him. Pei Yuqing hadn't expected that Pei Li would explode and awaken his abilities. This time, Pei Li's hatred for Pei Yuqing exploded. He didn't hide it at all. He wouldn't be afraid of anyone, including his father. Pei Li had destroyed the laboratory and taken away many powerful laboratory hosts. He had also ambushed and injured Pei Yuqing when he was caught off guard. After that, the organization, Undying and Indestructible, was born, and Pei Li disappeared from the face of the earth, never to be heard from again. 2 weeks later, Lin Yan returned. She was devastated when she heard the news. She hated Pei Yuqing for giving up on Pei Li. She felt that Pei Yuqing wasn't fit to be a father or a husband. She had broken up with Pei Yuqing completely, which was the cause of the car accident. Lin Yan seemed to have some kind of ability. As long as she couldn't accept the memories, they would be erased from her mind. After that, she had forgotten about her child and Pei Yuqing. Pei Li's face surfaced in his mind. If he was right, Pei Li should have been nearby when the car accident had happened. He should have been there to look for his mother, Lin Yan. However, he had witnessed the tragic car accident and blamed him for Lin Yan's death. End of this chapter. Chapter 1188. In the study, Pei Yuqing tapped his fingers on the desk. He was indeed afraid of Pei Li. Once Pei Li's ability erupted, even he wouldn't be able to stop him. In the Pei Corporation, Pei Li's grave sins had indeed proved that his worries weren't wrong. However, Pei Yuqing hadn't expected their relationship to deteriorate to this extent. The Pei Corporation had issued a wanted order to kill Pei Li, who was only a few years old. As Pei Li's father, he had been very worried at first. However, Pei Yuqing realized that he had been worrying too much recently. He had underestimated Pei Li's evolved abilities. Even Pei Yuqing hadn't expected that Pei Li, who was only a few years old, would be able to create the undying and indestructible ability. The terrifying evolved beings around Pei Li were the mothers that Pei Li had saved from the laboratory. This couldn't be described as troublesome. Pei Yuqing couldn't help but frown as he recalled Lin Yan's past. Pei Li was very similar to Lin Yan in the past. Who would have thought that the leader of the mountains and seas, whose name had shaken the world back then, was actually a young girl? As for the heinous crimes that the mountains and seas had committed, they could never be cleansed. The current Pei Li and Lin Yan were history repeating itself. However, Pei Li was different from Lin Yan. Pei Li's genes were filled with violence. He wasn't shackled by the shackles of the world. and he was far more terrifying than Lin Yan. If this continued, even Pei Yuqing couldn't predict what would happen in the future. Just as Pei Yuqing was deep in thought, his eyes flickered. Pei Yuqing stood up slowly and walked out of the study to the courtyard. "Are you my little sister's man?" There was no one in the courtyard, but a mocking laugh was heard. "Who's your little sister?" Pei Yuqing asked coldly. "Ha ha!" The voice chuckled contemptuously. "Do you have many women?" Pei Yuqing frowned. Was he referring to Lin Yan? "Your name is Pei Yuqing, right?" In the next second, the man bent over and walked out from the side. There was a very natural viciousness in his eyes. Pei Yuqing couldn't help but size up the man in front of him. He seemed to have never seen him before. This person was an evolved being who had reached a certain level. Pei Yuqing remained silent, as though he was waiting for the man to speak first. "I can tell from your eyes that you don't know much about my little sister," the man said with a smile. "So?" Pei Yuqing asked softly. "What? Is this how you treat your brother-in-law? You really make me unhappy." The man sneered. "You're from the Mu family?" Pei Yuqing looked puzzled. "Mu family?" A hint of disdain appeared in the man's eyes. "You can understand it that way. I'm here today to tell you to stay away from my little sister in the future. Stay as far away as you can." The man pressed on. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Lin Yan's second brother. I've said everything I need to. You don't have to worry about little sister." The man disappeared without giving Pei Yuqing a chance to speak. Pei Yuqing stood rooted to the ground, puzzled. This person didn't seem to have anything to do with the Mu family. However, what he said just now was thought-provoking. Little did he know that Lin Yan had a second brother who didn't know anything about him. End of chapter. Chapter 1189. The man who had claimed to be Lin Yan's second brother was stopped halfway after he left Cloud Manor. The man was dressed in a suit, and there were a few young men and women beside him. "Boss, what are you doing? I remember telling you not to provoke the people around little sister, especially her friends and relatives." The man's eyes landed on second brother as he spoke coldly. "Really? I forgot," replied second brother. "So you turned a deaf ear to my words," said the man. Second brother fell silent for a moment before he glanced at his eldest brother and chuckled sinisterly. "Boss, just mind your own business. Why do you have to care about what I say and do? I told you that little sister's life can't be disturbed." A hint of gloom appeared in the man's eyes. "Second brother, I'm not criticizing you, but big brother did tell us not to disturb little sister. Why are you disturbing the people around her?" asked one of the young men. "So what? Do you think little sister is living happily now?" Second brother sneered coldly. "I don't think so. Besides, this isn't just my idea. It's fifth brother's idea." "Fifth brother?" As soon as second brother finished speaking, the young men and women beside the first brother all looked at him. Among their father's many children, fifth brother was the most powerful one. Some of the children followed fifth brother's lead, including second brother, who belonged to fifth brother's camp. That was why he was so disobedient to their eldest brother's discipline. Fifth brother and eldest brother had always been at odds with each other. Because of their father's doting and his terrifying strength as an evolved being, he didn't take eldest brother seriously at all. Fifth brother and eldest brother had been arguing about little sister for many years. Fifth brother wanted to find little sister and tell her the truth, while eldest brother didn't want to disturb little sister's peaceful life. Because fifth brother and eldest brother didn't get along, it led to an intense conflict between fifth brother's camp and eldest brother's camp. In the end, it was because of their father's intervention that the relationship between the two of them seemed to have eased. Second brother, even if it's fifth brother's idea, you can't do it. You haven't forgotten what father said back then, right? Don't use father's doting on you as an excuse to act recklessly. A young woman beside their eldest brother frowned. Slap. A second later, the woman was slapped by second brother. Second brother? You. The woman looked at second brother in surprise. Who do you think you are? Big brother and second brother are talking. How dare you interrupt? The woman gritted her teeth and wanted to say something, but the boss beside her shook his head and told her not to speak. I don't have any intention of going against father. Moreover, father only told us to protect little sister. He didn't say that we couldn't recognize little sister. Boss, what are you harboring? Father only has little sister as his biological daughter. You let little sister wander outside. At this point, second brother's voice gradually became softer. When second brother saw the cold glint in big brother's eyes, second brother's imposing manner instantly weakened. Eldest brother, I don't believe that father doesn't miss little sister. You don't need to lecture me here. I will naturally ask father about this matter. You don't need to add some groundless charges to fifth brother and I. The second brother glanced at the first brother, snorted coldly, and left. After second brother left, a few young men and women quickly surrounded him. Big brother, second brother and fifth brother are being too arrogant. End of chapter. Chapter 1190. Big brother watched second brother leave thoughtfully. Keep an eye on him. If second brother continues to disturb little sister, or the people around her, just tell father the truth. State Finna Forest. Paley, what should we do next? You hate the Pei family so much. Why don't we destroy the Pei family's headquarters? One of the undying and indestructible members glanced at Paley, who was resting with his eyes closed. Paley opened his eyes and sized up the young man in front of him. Let's wear down the Pei family's power first. We can take action when they are injured. Paley, you're good with words, but you don't mean what you say. Little Loli, who was wearing a white dress and hovering in the air, stared at Paley. The Pei family is nothing compared to the great powers in the evolved world. It is just a small evolved family. Given our abilities, it will be easy to destroy the Pei family. What are you trying to say? Paley asked expressionlessly. Either you're too cautious, so cautious that it's exaggerated, or you can't bear to do it, but you're still holding back your anger. Make your choice, which one are you? Little Logic puffed up her cheeks. Paley was speechless. Ha ha ha. Xiaoming is right. Paley, don't tell me you can't bear to do it? Paley, who was expressionless, replied calmly. The Pei family isn't as simple as you think. Is it because of your father? After a while, a member said thoughtfully. Indeed. An older evolved being said. Paley's father, Pei Yuqing, isn't simple. When Pei Yuqing was young, the Pei family sent him to the Mu family to study. Paley said emotionlessly. The Mu family? Which Mu family? I've never heard of it. Little Loli, who was hovering in the air, looked curious. The Mu family is a first-class family among the evolvers. I heard that when the leader of the Pei family went out to train when he was young, he saved a young member of the Mu family. That was how he became the leader of the Pei family. Otherwise, he would not have had the chance to be the leader of the Mu family, said the leader of the Pei family. A middle-aged man with half a mask covering his mouth and nose said, Ha, more powerful than the Pei family. Why haven't I heard of it? The youth in the fiery red robe smiled disdainfully, as if he was full of doubts about the middle-aged man's words. You're too young. The middle-aged man glanced at the youth. The meaning behind his words was clear. You're too young and have never seen the world, the young man in red. Besides, the Mu family isn't just more powerful than the Pei family. The Mu family has been around for nearly 1,000 years, and has left its mark in many eras. It has 1,000 years of heritage. Even the current Mu family has many evolved geniuses. The Pei family can't compare to them at all. If you really want to compare them in detail, based on what I know about the Mu family, I'm afraid they would only need to mobilize a few core members to destroy the entire Pei family in a short time. The middle-aged man said. Pfft. Your name is Mu Guang. Are you from the Mu family? Why are you bragging about the Mu family? Little Logic mocked him. Xiaoming is right. I think this guy is from the Mu family. He's bragging too much. The youth in red chimed in with a smile. End of this chapter. Chapter 1191. The masked man fell into silence as they spoke. Paley, who sensed the cold glint in the masked man's eyes, glanced at him thoughtfully. So you're a member of the Mu family, Paley told the masked man after a few seconds. I used to be, replied the masked man. Interesting, Paley replied calmly. Wow, I was right. Damn paralyzed face, you are really from the Mu family. The little loli was shocked. Wow. The man was an evolved being, so he was considered one of the higher-ups in their team. Perhaps the Mu family was really powerful, just as the man had said. That's why I know the Mu family very well. I've interacted with Pei Yuqing before. He's not simple, said the masked man. Then Mu Guang took off his mask. When the little Lolis saw Mu Guang's face, they widened their eyes in shock. He had an extremely handsome face, but it was a pity that there were hideous cross-shaped scars on both sides of his cheeks. Even so, they could tell that Mu Guang had once been extraordinary. How did you get here? Asked Paley. Pei Yuqing gave it to me. The masked man put his mask back on. Understood, replied Paley. Aren't you going to ask why? The masked man glanced at Paley. Paley replied expressionlessly, there's no need. The enemy is the same, so it doesn't matter to me. Paley, no matter what kind of hatred your father has, listen to me. Don't do anything before you become invincible, said the masked man. Why? Do you think I'm afraid of the Mu family? Paley glanced at the masked man. The masked man shook his head and said, perhaps it's not as simple as the Mu family. There's a powerful force behind Pei Yuqing that we can't afford to provoke. Oh! Paley's eyes flickered. Which force? The Holy Land, replied the masked man. F***CKME. Are you serious? Are you talking about the Holy Land, where any random disciple can shake the evolved world? The red-clothed youth asked in astonishment. When Pei Yuqing was young, he was sent to the Mu family to study. He was deeply loved by the Mu family's madam. Not long after, Pei Yuqing followed a miss and young master of the Mu family to the Holy Land to participate in the assessment. The three of them passed the assessment and officially became members of the Holy Land. I heard that. The three of them even became the disciples of the leader of the Holy Land, the masked man said. The young mistress and young master of the Mu family. Who are they? The red-clothed youth became even more curious. Suddenly the masked man sneered coldly. They are just two lonely souls who were killed by Pei Yuqing. Little Loli was taken aback. Pei Yuqing killed her? But from what you've said, shouldn't their relationship be very good? They went to the Holy Land together for the examination, and stayed in the Holy Land to study together. How could they be killed? However, the masked man didn't seem to want to continue talking about this, so he didn't answer. Wow, Paley, was your father so cruel and merciless when he was young? You guys are indeed father and son. I mean, I finally understand why you hate Pei Yuqing so much, said the red-clothed youth. Although Pei Yuqing has been away from the Holy Land for a long time, he is still the disciple of the leader of the Holy Land. If you attack Pei Yuqing, you will be challenging the leader of the Holy Land. Paley is too dangerous, said the masked man. End of this chapter. Chapter 1192. Paley sat far away and did not move. He did not seem to feel anything special about the Holy Land and its master that the masked man was talking about. I'd like to see if I can fight the so-called Holy Land with my current evolutionary ability. As Paley's voice fell, a series of thunderous explosions came from the void around Paley. Black and purple lightning circled around Paley's body like young pythons. Little Loli, the young man in red, and the rest of the members could not breathe as they felt the terrifying evolved human's aura. Their skin felt like it was being pricked by thousands of needles, and their bodies were covered in cold sweat. This was the absolute pressure of evolution, and it had exceeded the limits of what they could endure. Moreover, the pressure was still increasing, as if there was no end to it. It carried with it an unbearable and violent aura that made people's hearts palpitate. If they were just ordinary evolved humans, they would have passed out on the spot, no matter how many people there were in the area. After Paley's evolved aura dissipated, Little Lowly, the young man in red, and the rest felt better. It was as if they had returned to the human world from hell. What a monster! The young man in red wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and looked at Paley with lingering fear. Was he still human? He had never seen an evolved human with such an exaggerated and terrifying ability. The most terrifying thing was that Paley could not be killed or killed. His self-healing ability was insane as well. He was invincible. Paley, you're indeed ridiculously strong right now, but your abilities are still in a state of growth. No one knows how strong the leader of the Holy Land is. If you were to encounter the leader of the Holy Land right now, I wouldn't be able to tell who's stronger and who's weaker. So why don't you wait until you're fully grown before doing what you want to do? Paley was about to speak when he glanced into the distance. Almost instantly, several members leaped up and blocked Paley's side. Swoosh! In the next second, a black silhouette moved so fast that it was hard to see with the naked eye. The black silhouette was surrounded by a terrifying strong wind. With every step it took, the ground beneath its feet would crumble. It was as if it was a walking mountain. You're asking for it. Although the young man in red did not know who it was, the way it appeared meant that it was an enemy and not a friend. In the next second, the red-clothed youth turned into a 10-feet-tall flaming man. The oxygen in the air instantly evaporated, as if he had become the incarnation of the blazing sun. F***CK, stay away from me, it's too hot. Seeing the man on fire approaching, the black figure stopped. The clothes on his body were about to be burned to ashes. Sure enough, it's a parent body from the laboratory. Does anyone have such an evolutionary ability? The black shadow stared at the burning man thoughtfully. Just as the flaming man approached, the black shadow's body suddenly surged with bursts of golden luster. The power of genes? The red-clothed youth who had turned into a 10-feet-tall burning man was slightly stunned. Boom! A deafening crash. The black shadow soared into the sky and swung out a fist that was difficult to see with the naked eye. And its speed was swift to the extreme. It was even to the extent that flaming man hadn't even recovered from his shock when his enormous body was blasted flying by an indescribably terrifying force. Soon, the man in fire fell heavily to the ground and returned to his human form. What the F***CK, did I get hit by a train? The red-clothed youth stood up. For a moment he felt a little dizzy. No, I should have been hit by 100,000 trains. Chapter 1193. Get Lost. After finishing off the young man in red, the black shadow dashed toward Paley without slowing down. The members guarding Paley were expressionless. Some of them even closed their eyes and used their senses to determine the location of the black shadow. Get out of the way. Paley sat far away and spoke calmly. No one doubted Paley's words. Almost at the same time Paley spoke, the few members guarding in front of him had already retreated to the left and right. At this moment, Paley was sitting on the ground. His eyes were calm as he looked at the black shadow that was rushing towards him. When the black shadow threw a punch, Paley also punched out symbolically. Hung long 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 long. Indescribable explosions rang out one after another. When the two fists collided, it was as if two meteorites had collided in the universe. Invisible airwaves turned into violent gales that surged in all directions. Countless giant trees and boulders in the surroundings were turned into dust by this airwave. At that moment, almost everyone's eyes were on the black shadow. Interesting. This is the first time I've seen an evolved person with such insane physical strength. An elderly member said coldly. It's rare, an evolved person who has unlocked the genetic seal. I'm afraid his physical strength has reached the peak. Get out of the way. Paley, don't do anything. Let me kill this person. The little Lowly's eyes were filled with bloodlust. Her almost unrivaled mental strength collided with this unrivaled physical strength. Who was stronger and who was weaker? However, Paley ignored the little Lowly and only looked at the man in front of him. Uncle Dog, stop fooling around, Paley said. The smile on the face of the man called Uncle Dog suddenly froze. Paley, what did I teach you? Call me Dog. Uncle Wang, Uncle Jing, or even Uncle Yang. Wang Jingyang shouted. No. Paley said calmly. Uncle Dog is more intimate. The corner of Wang Jingyang's mouth twitched. Exactly, what was more intimate? Do you really think adding the word dog is more intimate? Wang Jingyang frowned. Yes, Paley said. Immediately, Wang Jingyang nodded. Okay, my dog nephew, I understand. We wouldn't hurt each other. Paley. Call me whatever you want, I'm fine with it, Paley said. Wang Jingyang. Seeing this, the members at the side were puzzled. Did this person know Paley? Moreover, the relationship between the two seemed to be extraordinary. The little loli who was floating in the air suddenly looked like a wilted daylily. So, I can't kill him, right? He's my dog uncle. What do you think? Paley glanced at the little loli. Who is it? Who is so arrogant to want to kill Uncle Yang? Wang Jingyang looked around, and his eyes finally fell on the little girl. Call me Uncle Dog, Paley said to the little loli. No. Wang Jingyang quickly stopped him. Don't call me Uncle Dog. Call me Uncle Wang, Uncle Jean, or Uncle Yang. No, don't call me uncle, call me big brother. Uncle Dog, the little girl said listlessly. Wang Jingyang. So it's leader Xiao Li's uncle. One of the old men walked forward with a smile, and nodded at Wang Jingyang. Hello, Uncle Dog. As the old man finished speaking, Wang Jingyang's eyebrows furrowed into a crease. He looked at the old man with a bewildered expression, and his expression was indescribable. End of this chapter. Chapter 1194. Wang Jingyang glanced at the old man with an indescribable expression on his face. How old was this old man? How could he call him uncle? How shameless could he be? A moment later, Wang Jingyang sized up the people around him, and his heart couldn't help but ripple. Each of the evolvers present was more terrifying than the last. Their levels of evolution were more unfathomable than the last. Soon, Wang Jingyang withdrew his gaze from the people around him and looked at Paley again. Wow, how old are you? You're already growing so fast. Did you take hormones? Wang Jingyang grinned at Paley. He had to admit that Paley was indeed very similar to Lin Yin in the past, in terms of appearance, experience, and even personality. Back then, Lin Yin had established Mountain Sea when she was young, and led a group of monster-level evolved beings to roam the world. Paley was very similar to Lin Yin in the past. Paley glanced at Wang Jingyang, as though he wanted to say something. However, he didn't say a word in the end. I haven't seen you for a long time. You've changed a lot. You've become stronger. The new generation really surpasses the old. Wang Jingyang smiled at Paley. Uncle Dog, how did you find me? Paley asked after a moment. Don't call me uncle. Call me brother, replied Wang Jingyang. Paley was speechless. It wasn't easy to find you, but you've been doing so much recently. If I put in some effort, I would still be able to find some clues. Wang Jingyang grinned. We didn't hide our whereabouts. Isn't it normal to find us? Little Loli replied. Uncle Dog, since you're here, you're a guest. Have a seat. Paley glanced at Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang instinctively swept the surroundings with his gaze when he heard Paley. And then he said with a smile, Where shall we sit? Paley glanced at Wang Jingyang and said, Make yourself at home. Sit on the ground. Wang Jingyang was speechless. He was really particular about how he treated his guests. Uncle Dog, why did you come all the way here? I don't think it's as simple as catching up. After Wang Jingyang sat down, Paley spoke to him. Wang Jingyang sized up Paley. Indeed, although he was young, he had evolved to a very advanced level. He couldn't look at Paley like a child anymore. He was just like Lin Yin when she had been young. Hee. Wang Jingyang laughed. Money has been a little tight recently. As Wang Jingyang performed his tricks, not only Paley, but the other members also looked at Wang Jingyang in surprise. Even the young men and women who were as cold as icebergs did the same. Wait, uncle, don't tell me you're here to borrow money? The red-clothed youth who had been beaten back by Wang Jingyang asked in disbelief. A top-notch physical evolver had crossed mountains and seas to spend so much effort to find Paley. And in the end, he was told that he was short of money? They had never heard of such a thing. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang furrowed his brows and said in a slightly displeased tone, "What do you mean by borrowing? How can this be called borrowing? Am I that kind of person? You can ask around. I, Wang Jingyang, never borrow money from anyone." With that, Wang Jingyang continued, "As long as I don't return it, it's not borrowing." Paley, little lowly, the red-clothed youth. All the members were speechless. How could there be such a shameless person? Hence, he had indeed come to borrow money, but he had no intention of returning it. End of this chapter. Chapter 1195. The pale-faced young man stared at Wang Jingyang and said with sudden realization, "I understand. You are not here to borrow money." Hearing this, Wang Jingyang smiled and nodded. The pale-faced young man pinched his chin and said in deep thought, "According to your logic, you are here to rob." Wang Jingyang. What kind of relationship do I have with Paley? We are uncle and nephew. When I was young, I took care of Paley like he was my own son. I worked hard without any complaints. Now that Paley has made a name for himself, isn't it only right for him to be filial to a poor uncle like me? How can this be called borrowing money? How can this be called robbing? Do you know how to talk? Paley looked at Wang Jingyang strangely. "Uncle Dog, are you serious?" Wang Jingyang's expression was serious. "Of course. Let me tell you, I don't have a single cent on me. When I came here, I used all my money to buy a plane ticket. If you don't give me some money, I won't be able to go back." Paley stared at Wang Jingyang. Looking at Wang Jingyang's expression, he did not look like he was joking. So, he really was here for money. "I don't have any concept of money." Paley showed a rare look of awkwardness. He turned to look at the little girl. "How much money do we have?" "Ah, where do we get the money? We don't steal or rob, and no one works." The little girl said, "Look at how long I've been wearing these clothes. Isn't it because we are poor and can't buy new clothes?" The red-shirt young man said. "Then, can you gather the money for the plane ticket?" Paley asked again. 17-inch barely. Let's all pool our money. The money for the plane ticket shouldn't be a problem." The red-shirt young man looked at Wang Jingyang. "Uncle, what are you after? You spent all your money to buy a plane ticket to find Paley. And then you want us to spend all our money to buy a plane ticket for you. So why are you here? It's meaningless." Wang Jingyang smiled. "If I knew you were so poor, I definitely wouldn't have come." Without giving the red-shirt young man a chance to speak, Wang Jingyang's gaze landed on Paley again. "Little Lee, I've heard about you. Do you want your father's life this time?" "Interested?" Paley asked. "Xiao Li Zi, I think you should give up on this idea. Pei Yuqing is your biological father. Are you out of your mind to take his life?" Wang Jingyang looked at Paley, his expression gradually turning serious. Paley glanced at Wang Jingyang. "That's strange. Your relationship with Pei Yuqing isn't that good. My relationship with your father is between the two of us. Don't mix it up. Pei Yuqing is your father. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning if you kill him?" Wang Jingyang retorted. "I've severed all ties with Pei Yuqing. He has never treated me as his son. He merely sees me as a killing machine that can be nurtured and used as a trump card for the Pei family. Isn't that right?" Paley replied calmly. At this point, Wang Jingyang was also in a difficult position. He didn't know what to say. In Wang Jingyang's opinion, Pei Yuqing was indeed a good-for-nothing. He was just a cunning, greedy, and unscrupulous person. Back then, he had lied to Lin Yan and caused her 2 children to die prematurely. However, he had secretly sent them back to the Pei family because he had taken a fancy to their abilities, especially Pei Li. He had treated Pei Li as a killing tool and left him in the Pei family to become a trump card that could fight against stronger evolved beings. Chapter 1196. Paley fell silent for a moment before he replied. "This is my first time being a son. I don't have much experience. I think I can understand if I want to kill him. Wang Jingyang was speechless. This kid's level of evolution was too high. He couldn't be fooled anymore. He couldn't treat him like a child anymore. Wang Jingyang missed the little radish that Lin Yan had brought with her. Now he looked at Pei Li. Pei Li, your father is indeed in the wrong. If you really can't do it, you can sever ties with him. There's no need to kill him. If you kill your father, how will the world view you in the future? Whenever you appear in front of others, people will talk about you. Look, this is the evil creature who killed his own father, said Wang Jingyang. I'll kill anyone who talks about me. Once I kill enough people, I'll calm down. Pei Li replied expressionlessly. Why are you so stubborn? Wang Jingyang frowned. Uncle, you mean to say that he's stubborn, right? Little lowly corrected Wang Jingyang. Yes. It was a slip of the tongue. I was angered by Xiaoli. It's not that I'm uncultured. Don't misunderstand, Wang Jingyang said hurriedly. Little lowly muttered softly. You're trying to expose yourself. Pei Li glanced at Wang Jingyang thoughtfully. That's why borrowing money isn't the goal. You're here to persuade me. Wang Jingyang was startled. He shook his head and said, Nonsense. Money is the main goal. Being a lobbyist is secondary. Uncle Dog, you don't know what I've been through, said Pei Li. You can't kill your father no matter what you've been through. I also want Pei Yuqing's life, but that's a different matter, said Wang Jingyang. As soon as he finished speaking, Pei Li laughed coldly. My mother has really made a wrong friend. She told me that you are one of the closest people in the world to her, and also her best friend. Wang Jingyang was confused. What did it have to do with Lin Yan? That he didn't want Pei Li to kill Pei Yuqing. Lin Yan couldn't have asked Pei Li to kill Pei Yuqing, could she? Could Pei Yuqing have done something wrong to Lin Yan? Was that why Lin Yan had flown into a rage and instructed her son to kill Pei Yuqing? If that wasn't the case, Pei Li wouldn't have said that Lin Yan had betrayed him. After a few seconds of silence, Wang Jingyang glanced at Pei Li nervously and whispered, Hold on. Your father, Pei Yuqing, did he do something behind your mother's back and she found out? After Wang Jingyang finished speaking, an inexplicable expression appeared on Pei Li's face. He asked in confusion, What do you mean? Sigh. Child, don't you know what it means to mess around outside? You're just being indiscreet, Wang Jingyang said. Indecent? Pei Li's expression became more and more confused. He had no idea what Wang Jingyang was talking about. The young man in red at the side couldn't take it anymore. He said loudly, Pei Li, Uncle Go means, did your father have an affair behind your mother's back? Did he have another woman? The young man sighed heavily. My father used to be like this. He fooled around behind my mother's back. When my mother found out, she broke his legs. Pei Li's eyes glinted coldly. It seems like my mother has been humiliated by him. Chapter 1197. Wang Jingyang looked at Pei Li in bewilderment. He couldn't understand what this brat was saying. Hold on. Wang Jingyang stopped himself immediately when he realized that there had been a misunderstanding. Uncle Dog, what's wrong? Pei Li glanced at Wang Jingyang. Wang Jingyang frowned and pondered for a moment before he said, It's a little messy. Let's sort it out. Okay. Pei Li didn't reject him. I was just asking you if Pei Yuqing had been fooling around outside, and your mother found out. Wang Jingyang quipped. I don't know. Pei Li replied expressionlessly. Perhaps. That shouldn't be the case. Wang Jingyang looked puzzled. Although your father is a despicable and shameless person, based on my understanding of him, he wouldn't do such a lowly thing. Hearing this, Pei Li said thoughtfully, and then? You said that I came to persuade you not to hurt your father, and that you would let your mother down. Why? Wang Jingyang was puzzled. Back when she had been overseas, Lin Yan had merely been disappointed by Pei Yuqing. She hadn't hated him at all. After the car accident, Lin Yan's evolved ability had made her forget all the painful memories, including her 2 children and Pei Yuqing. Since she had forgotten everything, it was impossible for her to hate him. Besides, the 2 of them were so close to each other now. How could she hate him? What do you think? Pei Li asked Wang Jingyang. How would I know? Wang Jingyang glared at Pei Li. Hadn't he asked him a question? Why was this kid asking him a question? Pei Yuqing was the one who caused my mother's death. In a sense, Pei Yuqing is the murderer. If it hadn't been for Pei Yuqing, my mother wouldn't have died in that car accident. Pei Li's eyes glinted coldly. Pei Yuqing and I have severed our ties. Since he is a stranger, and he killed my mother, why can't I avenge her? You might care about what the world thinks, but I don't care, Pei Li replied. Wang Jingyang was speechless. Wang Jingyang was dumbfounded when he heard Pei Li. Lin Yan was dead? Pei Yuqing had caused her death? When did this happen? Why didn't he know? But on second thought, Wang Jingyang seemed to understand. The main point was the car accident that Pei Li mentioned. Indeed, Lin Yan had been involved in a tragic car accident when she had been overseas. If she had been an ordinary person, she would have died without a doubt. She would have been sent to the crematorium along with her car. However, was Lin Yan an ordinary person? Lin Yan was an evolved being. She even had evolved genes and abilities that ordinary people couldn't understand. She wouldn't die even if she were to get into an accident on a spaceship. Pei Li, did you witness your mother's car accident with your own eyes? Wang Jingyang asked. Indeed, Pei Li answered honestly. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang nodded. If Pei Li had witnessed Lin Yan's accident with his own eyes, it would be understandable that his mother had died in that tragic accident. Chapter 1198. In the end, the two of them were completely at odds. They weren't on the same channel at all. Pei Li's assumption that Lin Yan had died was just a huge blunder. This was a huge misunderstanding. Wang Jingyang stared at Pei Li, as though he wanted to say something. However, he hesitated. Wang Jingyang really didn't want to see Pei Li hurt Pei Yuqing. This wasn't because of his brotherly relationship with Pei Yuqing, but because Pei Li was Pei Yuqing's son. If he really hurt Pei Yuqing, the heavens wouldn't tolerate it. This wasn't just gossip. Wang Jingyang was more concerned about the fact that no one could guarantee that Pei Li wouldn't regret killing his biological father one day. However, Wang Jingyang didn't want Pei Li's hatred for Pei Yuqing to dissipate. He didn't even want Pei Li to acknowledge a traitor as his father. At least in Wang Jingyang's eyes, Pei Yuqing wasn't fit to be a father. Putting aside the grudges between them for the time being, just talking about the responsibility of a father, which father would lie to his postpartum partner and tell her that the children they gave birth to had both died. The truth was that he had secretly sent the children to the Pei clan's headquarters, using them as a tool, a secret weapon that could make the clan stronger. How had Pei Yuqing treated Pei Li back then? When he was in the Pei family, Pei Li was regarded as a monster. As his father, did he say anything? When he had met his mother for the first time, he had asked Pei Li to keep a distance from her. He hadn't even allowed the two of them to be alone. After Pei Li and Pei Qian were targeted by some Evolver's faction, did he care about Pei Li's life or death? How could such a person be qualified to be a father? If he didn't tell his mother that Lin Yan was still alive, their father-son relationship would come to an end. This was indeed what Wang Jingyang wanted to see. However, if he kept this a secret, he would be in the wrong. Even if he had his reasons, Pei Li had the right to know the truth. Uncle Dog. Pei Li frowned when he noticed that Wang Jingyang was staring at him in silence. Pei Li, Brother Dog has something to tell you. Wang Jingyang sighed heavily. Go ahead, Uncle Dog, said Pei Li. Your mother is also an evolved being, said Wang Jingyang. Pei Li looked a little confused. Anything else? So, have you ever seen an evolved person with decent evolutionary abilities die in a car accident? Wang Jingyang continued. Wang Jingyang, who noticed that Pei Li was caught off guard, blurted out. Your mother, Lin Yan, is alive and well. Who told you that she is dead? What did you say? As Wang Jingyang's voice fell, Pei Li's already large eyes widened even more, and he instantly grabbed Wang Jingyang's arm. Your mother didn't die. She only injured her leg in the car accident. Stop imagining things, Wang Jingyang said. My mother isn't dead. Pei Li was dumbfounded. How is this possible? I saw it with my own eyes. Not to mention Pei Li, even the team members at the side were a little dumbfounded. Pei Li, your mother has been resurrected? Little Loli asked in surprise. Wang Jingyang. Uncle Dog, is what you said true? Are you trying to make me happy? Paley asked anxiously. Whoever lies to you is a dog, Wang Jingyang said. After saying that, not only Paley, but little Loli and the others also revealed suspicious looks. Chapter 1199. Wang Jingyang had no idea that Paley had thought that Lin Yan had died in the car accident. Fortunately, Wang Jingyang had found out about this. Otherwise, who knew how long this huge misunderstanding would last? When Paley heard from Wang Jingyang that his mother, Lin Yan, was still alive, his eyes filled with astonishment and disbelief. To Paley, Lin Yan was indeed alive, but she lived in his heart. Why would I lie to you? Wang Jingyang couldn't help but glance at Paley. Paley's eyes were filled with suspicion, and Wang Jingyang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Uncle Dog, my mother, is really alive. Paley glanced at Wang Jingyang to confirm this. Yes, she is. Wang Jingyang nodded and grinned. Your mother is alive and well. The car accident wasn't fatal, and she isn't as weak as you think. Where is my mother now? Paley couldn't help but ask. She's with your father. Wang Jingyang sighed heavily. Pei Yuqing. Paley frowned when he heard Wang Jingyang mention Pei Yuqing. How unexpected. After a while, Paley said thoughtfully. What's wrong? Wang Jingyang didn't know why Paley would suddenly say that. I didn't expect my mother to be alive. I also didn't expect her to be with Pei Yuqing, Paley replied. Your father and mother are living together. What's so surprising about that? Wang Jingyang quipped. Paley shook his head gently and didn't reply to Wang Jingyang. Paley still remembered that his mother had once asked him if he would be willing to be with her if she and his father were to part ways. Of course, Paley's answer had been yes. However, Paley hadn't been able to wait for that day. Besides, Paley couldn't understand why his mother hadn't contacted him if she hadn't died in the car accident. She had given her mother her contact information, and her phone number had never been changed. However, his mother hadn't contacted him at all. Or did his mother not care about him at all? Paley, what's wrong? Wang Jingyang asked when he saw the complicated look on Paley's face. As soon as Wang Jingyang finished speaking, Paley returned to his senses. He looked at Wang Jingyang and said, Uncle Dog, tell me where she is. China shopping mall. Lin Yan carried her shopping bags as she stood by the counter in the shopping mall. Lin Yan had planned to visit her mother in the afternoon, so she decided to buy some gifts for her mother. Just as Lin Yan was about to ask about a product, her expression changed drastically. She did not know when a hand had rested on her shoulder, and almost instantly, a faint fragrance wafted into her nose. Instinctively, Lin Yan dodged to the side. However, his hand was firmly on her right shoulder, so she couldn't break free. Before Lin Yan could think further, she was hugged by someone. Lin Yan furrowed her eyebrows and turned to her left. A young man in a black leather suit was holding her. The man was wearing a black leather jacket, vintage jeans, and a pair of white boots. He was estimated to be more than 185 meters tall. His appearance and attire were very fashionable. He had brown hair and black earrings on his earlobes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1200. The earrings made the young man look unruly and handsome. He didn't look repulsive at all. He was outstanding in terms of looks, height, and aura. However, Lin Yan didn't know the man in front of her. Hence, she was infuriated that he had hugged her out of nowhere. Hitting someone was against the law. If hitting someone wasn't against the law, she would have punched the young man who was hugging her to death in the mall. He thought that he was handsome, so he could flirt with anyone. Furthermore, he had done it in such a disrespectful manner. What do you like? The man suddenly lowered his head and met Lin Yan's eyes with a gentle smile. Lin Yan was dumbfounded by the young man's actions. This man couldn't have escaped from some mental hospital, could he? It felt like he was very close to her. Even the way he spoke was like an old friend who had known her for many years. Did she know him? Do I know you? Lin Yan asked the man coldly. The The man smiled shyly and scrutinized Lin Yan's features. You really look like my father. Your nose and eyes are indeed my father's daughter. You are so alike. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched when she heard him. Was there something wrong with this handsome young man's brain? He claimed that she resembled his father. Had he come to the mall to look for his father? Even if he had come to look for his father, he would at least look for a man. Why would he look for a woman? Lin Yan ignored the man and shrugged her shoulders to push his arm away. However, the man didn't seem to mind. He continued to smile at Lin Yan. Before Lin Yan could speak, the man told the salesperson, "Wrap them up." The salesperson asked, "Sir, which item would you like to wrap up?" "All of them." The man grinned. "All of them?" The salesperson was startled. "Yeah, all of them," replied the man. "All of them." The salesperson was startled. "Card." The man retrieved a black card from his pocket and placed it on the counter. "Miss, your boyfriend treats you so well." The salesperson gazed at Lin Yan with envy. "My boyfriend?" Lin Yan instinctively pointed at herself. "I'm not her boyfriend." The man laughed. "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand," the salesperson quickly said. "I'm her brother," the man said. "Miss, your brother treats you so well." The salesperson smiled awkwardly at Lin Yan. Lin Yan was speechless. "Xiaoyan, do you need anything else?" The man lowered his head to look at Lin Yan. Lin Yan frowned when she heard the man. She even felt wary as she stared at the man. "Who are you? Do I know you?" "Let me formally introduce myself. I am your brother, fifth brother," the man said with a smile. "Brother? Fifth brother? Are you making fun of me?" Lin Yan asked expressionlessly. Why didn't she know that she had a brother? "Sorry, I don't know you. You've mistaken me for someone else." Lin Yan turned around to leave. However, the man wrapped his arm around Lin Yan's shoulders, as though they were a close pair of siblings. However, Lin Yan's forehead was perspiring profusely. The man in front of him was a super-evolved human, whose level of evolution was indescribable. End of chapter. Chapter 1201. The man standing next to Lin Yan was an evolved being, at an extremely high level. He had reached a level that Lin Yan couldn't imagine. Ever since Lin Yan had found out that she was an evolved being, she had a rough understanding of the evolved being's world. No one had ever given Lin Yan such pressure before, be it a postnatal evolved being, or a connate evolved being, that had been born high and mighty. The oppressive aura of an evolved being seemed to exist and not exist. Lin Yan could sense that this oppressive aura wasn't deliberately created by the man in front of her. Instead, it emanated from his bones with every move he made. Lin Yan finally looked at the handsome man in front of her, with a charming and gentle smile on his face. However, Lin Yan didn't feel any warmth as she stood beside him. Instead, she shuddered. It felt as though she was standing next to a ferocious beast, and could die at any moment. In a few seconds, Lin Yan's entire body was drenched in cold sweat. This man was too dangerous, and the level of an evolved being had far exceeded the limits of her understanding. "It doesn't matter if you don't know me." The man smiled and spoke softly, as though he could bewitch her. "But you should know me now. I'm your brother, fifth brother." Lin Yan didn't say anything, as she pondered what this man's motive was. She was certain that Lin Yan didn't know this man. They hadn't interacted with each other before this. This was the first time they had met. However, the man kept saying that she was her brother, but she really didn't have one. Even if she did, how could Lin Yan not know her brother? That was obviously impossible. Besides, Lin Yan didn't think that this man had any ulterior motives. If he wanted to, he could kill her with one blow at any time. Before long, Lin Yan was startled. Could it be that he, like Bai He and Si Bai, had recognized the wrong person? The more Lin Yan thought about it, the more she felt that it was possible. After all, the owner of a certain laboratory looked very similar to her. "Sister Lin Yan, do you want to have a drink with me?" The man suddenly called her name as Lin Yan was deep in thought. Lin Yan's expression changed when she heard the man. She was certain that this wasn't a mistake. He said his name. Who are you?" Lin Yan instinctively took 2 steps back. "You're so stupid." The man stared at Lin Yan. "Didn't I tell you that he's your brother?" I don't have a brother, Lin Yin replied warily. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, the salesperson frowned. Previously, he thought that the two of them had some sort of relationship, but after listening to their conversation, it didn't seem to be the case. Miss, do you need help? The salesgirl whispered to Lin Yin. However, Lin Yin ignored the salesperson. Not to mention these ordinary people. Even if ordinary evolvers came, they would just be sending themselves to death. Moreover, she did not feel any malice from the man. Let's go. I'll explain everything to you. The man grinned as he strode over to Lin Yin and placed his hand on her shoulder. Sir, do you know this young lady? Unbeknownst to him, the salesperson had called over several security personnel from the mall. Chapter 1202. Several security guards approached Lin Yin and the man, sizing him up. The man ignored them and placed an arm around Lin Yan's shoulders as he led her away from the stage. Let go. Lin Yin struggled several times, but she couldn't break free. The security guards, who sensed something amiss, rushed forward to stop the man. However, before they could even get close to the man, these security guards fell to the ground with a thud and looked like they had fainted. Before Lin Yin could snap back to her senses, the man had already dragged her out of the mall. You attacked an ordinary person? Lin Yin raised her head to look at the man in astonishment. The man chuckled softly and quipped. Did you see what I did? Before Lin Yin could reply, the man explained. They must have had too much to drink. Lin Yin was speechless. Did he think that she was a fool? Had they had too much to drink? Couldn't he come up with a better excuse? At the moment, Lin Yin was in an awkward situation. She was like a fool as she allowed the man to lead her by the nose. She was powerless to resist, as though she were an ant that had met an elephant. She felt utterly helpless. Sister Senior. Just as Lin Yin was drowning in despair, the white crane's voice rang out. Lin Yan's heart leaped with joy. The white crane strode out of the mall with 2 ice creams in its hands. Lin Yin had brought the white crane with her. She had left it at the dessert shop on the 2nd floor of the mall. She had wanted to buy some ice creams before going to look for it. However, she had bumped into the man. Sister Senior, why did you run away? Aren't you going to pay for me? The white crane looked anxious. He hadn't paid for the ice creams. Lin Yin, who seemed to have forgotten her current predicament, turned to the white crane and bellowed. Didn't I give you $200? No, it's not enough. The white crane looked aggrieved. 1 stick costs $150. 2 sticks cost $300. I gave them $200. I ate a lot of other things, so I still owe them more than $600. They asked me for money after I ate, so I snuck out to look for you. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Did you eat gold? The white crane wanted to retort, but its eyes landed on the handsome man next to Lin Yin. But he took a few steps forward and narrowed his eyes to size up the smiling man. Senior sister, you have a new boyfriend? Lin Yin was speechless. Damn you. You're such a fool. He couldn't do anything but spend money to be number 1. He was being held hostage. Was he blind? Cough cough. Lin Yin coughed deliberately and winked at the white crane. But he was puzzled by Lin Yan's actions. Then, a look of realization dawned on him as he hurriedly said, Please explain. I'm her junior brother. I'm not her son. Please don't misunderstand. Lin Yin was speechless. Goodbye, my friend. The man smiled and nodded at the white crane. Silly boy. I don't know him. Lin Yin, who had no choice but to tell the white crane. The white crane glanced at Lin Yin with a strange expression on its face. I'm not close to him, replied Lin Yin. Then senior sister, you can be so casual. That's not good. Bai he said. Idiot. He's an evolved being. I was kidnapped by him. Can't you be more specific? Lin Yin wanted to cry. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.